And that was good throw.
That was a good throw.
Every time we start a new disc, we have to clap to sync the audio for me later.
Yes.
I'm exhausted now.
Like,
out of
we
breath
catch our breath to start.
Yeah, let's take a sip. Here we go. Hi, Thor. Hi. Okay. On one. Well, actually, let me think about the intro again. Okay. On 1, 3, you're gonna clap with me. Okay. I was just making sure you're dialed in. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this final episode of A Moment of Friendly Introspection, the conversational podcast with creative guests and thoughtful questions. This month, my guest is Jonathan Campbell. Jonathan, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm tired, exhausted, setting up all this, making sure it would work. And it seems to be working. Are we working? Yeah, okay. It seems to be working well, hopefully. And y'all won't know any of this, but it took an hour this time. Usually it takes me like 30 minutes and then something goes wrong, so an extra 10 minutes. This was like, okay, something went wrong at first, then we had other ideas and then we fixed it. But it's still just like there's more cameras going on this time.
It looks great though.
Thank you.
It's a vibe.
How's your week been?
It was good. It was a more like low-key week and then had a great write yesterday. But it has been very hot.
Yes,
Too
good God.
hot. Yeah.
We live in the Middle Tennessee area and it just gets worse every year. And I still think nothing has ever been as bad as any summer in Alabama.
No, I agree. Alabama summers were terrible.
Yeah. I mean, truly horrendous. But no, it's getting worse for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I feel that. But also, like, I never know. I'm not a science person, so I don't understand anything.
I think they're called scientists.
No, the science guy. Bill Nye.
Bill Nye, of course. Yes.
But no, I'm not a science guy. No, so I don't get, like, sometimes, like, how mild or harsh the winter is has some effect on the summer.
Sure.
Like and then also, like, the bugs. If it doesn't get cold enough to kill the bugs, then the bugs will be worse and all that stuff. And there's something with humidity, too. So I'm just kind of like, but it's too hot.
Oh, my God. Yeah. We were talking earlier. I went on a walk this morning at like 7:30 a.m. and it was like 80 degrees, but the sun was just so unbearable that it was like, oh God, I am dying. Please kill me now.
Yeah, because the sun is up at like 5 now. So it's like it's by 7:30, it's already been baking for 2.5 hours.
Good God. I guess full spoiler here. Like we're recording this in July. This past week was July 4th, so we kind of had a weird week.
It is July. I didn't even. I've not really thought about like it's July.
It is July. For me, the weeks are always strange when we have a holiday because, like, I work in the music industry. John does too, in a different sense. Mm-hmm. But like when you have a day, whether it's Monday or in the middle of the week, that just throws off everything else. Just like, oh man, I got to catch up or like do stuff ahead of time so I'm not like missing anything. Did you feel that at all or no?
I love it. Like I love, because this week the holiday was on Thursday. So it was like work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah. And then Thursday we were off. So then it's like Wednesday feels like a Friday because you have the next day off.
Yeah.
So then Thursday feels like a Saturday. And then you have like one more work day. And so it's like, and I was with friends, so like it was easy. And got a great song. He's been a lot.
John has a dog named Thor who's pitter-pattering.
He has been silent the entire hour of
truly
setup. He's like, oh, y'all, the red button is glowing. Let me be as loud as possible. So maybe he'll lay in his bed. In a minute, maybe I'll go grab his bed and pull it in here.
Yeah, okay.
So I was with friends on Friday. So it was like, it just feels like you're working on a weekend almost. but then now we get a full weekend.
Yeah. Do you have problem relaxing?
I used to. Like, I used to say, like, I was always really bad at relaxing. He's being so loud. Thor,
It's okay.
but I was so bad at relaxing. I was like a big like workaholic. And then I read the book everybody else read, the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, amongst a few others. And it was a game changer.
Yeah.
Like, I do like a full Sabbath on Sundays. Like, my phone is off on Sundays. And I try and like limit the time that I spend doing any one activity to under 2 hours. It's because otherwise I like get in like the zone with it, and then time flies. And the whole point for me for Sabbath is to keep time from flying. Like, I'm trying to intentionally slow everything down.
Yeah.
So having long periods where I'm bored is great for that.
I kind of had that on the 4th. It was just like, man, I'm not doing anything today. I'm really bored. And then I was like, thank God.
Being bored is underrated.
It's the best thing ever.
Because I think too, like, and I realize it more and more, like, we have our like first child on the way in like October. So I'm like seeing like kids and like kind of touching back into like becoming relevant again on like what kids are doing and all that stuff. Cause I've been out of that for a while as a guy in my 20s. So like, I am just seeing like, it's so different than when we were kids, which makes me sound so old. But like, even in the sense that, cause like we were like right before like you could have an iPad as a kid.
Yes.
Like, I think the iPad came out when I was in like we were in like third grade.
I don't remember. Yeah.
It was something around there. Like, we were already like a little bit on the older kid side, headed into like the middle school age, which is like a totally different thing.
Yeah.
So like seeing like there's constant stimulation always.
Yeah.
With social media, and even like people have talked about like the shows, they'll be like super like they don't waste any time. So like, I think because everything around us is so like desperate for our attention and trying to like make everything move really quickly, there's something really like, it feels almost like badass to be like, no. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and just be like, I'm going to do nothing.
Yeah. Very countercultural.
Yeah.
I feel that. I've always loved being bored. And I remember telling my mom, like, I'm bored. She was like, oh, that makes you a boring person. Now I'm like, nah, bro.
That's hilarious.
Being bored is countercultural.
That makes you a boring person.
Yes.
So savage.
It was her go-to line.
It's so savage. I love your mom.
You referenced having a child on the way. I mean, shoot, let's get into that.
Yeah.
It's been a wild year for you, first of all.
It has been the best.
And we'll get more into everything. But like, good Lord, how do you feel about that? It's getting more real every day.
Oh, it's so much more real. Like, there's a high chair out of the shot over here.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I'm so excited. So excited. Like, I think like 3 years ago, our conversation around kids, me and my wife, Sierra, Sierra was like ready. She was like, I'm not ready to like have kids. But like 3 years ago, like I was maybe just over 3 years ago, I was still working at Verizon. Yeah. So
it's crazy.
So I remember we were walking around her parents' neighborhood, so my in-laws. We were down there it was during COVID. We were down there staying with them for a little bit during COVID. And we were just on a walk and we were talking about kids and whatever. And I was like, I do not want to be working at Verizon when we have our first kid.
Yeah.
And no shade to anyone working at Verizon. It's just, if you do work in a retail place, like a customer facing thing, like the hours are crazy, like shifts are wild. Like at that time I was working so many evenings. Like, I'm like, I don't want to have to work evenings, and like, it was commission based. So it was like, and not that what I do now is any more stable, but, but like
ultra commission.
Yeah. There's no base. Yeah. No. So like, I was just like, ooh, I just can't imagine being in that space for me and Sierra, where I was having to miss things. And like, that would just be really hard for anybody who has to do that. So I was in that space for a long time, and I was like, ooh, I don't know, like having a kid is like, everybody says like, oh, it changes everything. Like, you'll never see your friends again. Like all that kind of stuff.
I didn't hear that.
No, but their point is they're just saying like, oh, like basically they're saying like, say goodbye to your social life, kind of a thing.
Sure. Okay.
And I'm like, one, and this is on the before side of it, I think that's a choice. Like you can choose, like, I think it does make having a social life a lot more involved and a lot harder. And I'm saying this not from personal experience, but from our friends who have kids. And like we still hang out with them and like they didn't disappear when they had their kids. And so it's like they do have to bring more bags and like more things and activities and head out early. We all try and scoot the hang a little earlier, you know?
Yeah.
So like there's a lot more that has to go into it, but you can still like do all that stuff. So anyway, that was the biggest thing holding me back from being excited for a long time.
Sure.
And then I think part of the whole like slowing down thing that I was doing just for me was then I was like, oh, now I'm like not filling my time with all these things that I have realized I never cared about. And then now I'm like, oh, there's this other thing that I would really care about that I now have all this time I can use for. So it feels like it's like the right timing, I think, which is a big deal for me. Because like I said, like 3 years ago, I would have been like, this is awful. Like, this is not the timing I wanted. And then like, if we had been, you know, wanting to have kids sooner, and then it was 3 years until now, until we could have a kid, like that would also be really hard because it would be like, you're wanting something and you can't have it.
Yeah.
So like, it just feels like really good timing to me on, I'm just really excited. And like finding out we're having a little girl was really exciting. Took me like a minute to like wrap my head around because I had like just thought about like growing up, I guess, because I was a boy and I had an older brother, I just like had a schema for like what having a little boy was like. And so I was like, okay, little girl, whatever, you know, I'll like wrap my head around it. And then because I wasn't disappointed, I was just like, I don't know what, it was like a feeling of like, I was just recategorizing things that weren't boy-specific things that I had imagined. I was just being like, oh yeah, I can do this with a girl. And now I would be bummed, in which they can't come back and say that it's not a girl. We've seen she's a girl. But
well, actually.
Yeah. But if they were to come back tomorrow and be like, oh no, like you're having a boy, I would be like, what? No.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like so excited about being a girl dad and being really intentional to be like, not only are you like pretty and beautiful and those things, but you're like competent. And you are a confident person. You're brave. You are capable. You know, like all of those things, which I think are, because I see that in my wife. Yeah. And I think my wife is going to be an amazing example of that. So anyway, I'm excited about all the things. And of course, I really don't know anything yet. But I just know that we'll figure it out, you know?
Yeah. Thinking about your own father and like other adult male father figures you had in your life, what did they do well that you're going to impart in your fatherhood method, and like what are you going to add to that?
I would definitely say like calmness. Like I think there's a stereotype generally of men, which has basis in reality, of like tempers and like impatience and all those things. And my dad never was, you know, my dad.
Yeah.
Like he is the most patient. Like I've seen him like be like red in the face, upset about something, like mad or whatever, about like 2 or 3 things. And all of them were not even to do with him. Like one time he was backing out like the week after I'd gotten my car when I was a senior in high school. And he had forgotten it was there because he wasn't used to it being there. And he backed into my car, which it just left like it was just like the trailer hitch left a little like square on the front. He was so mad, but he was mad at himself because he wanted me to have an undamaged car. So he was just always very, very calm and very like a calming energy and relaxing and very like level-headed, and would challenge me to like when I was doing like spelling bees or whatever in school, like he would be the one who'd be like, hey, let's go study your words if you want to.
Yeah.
And like he would just be involved in what I was doing, but again, with that very like calm, level-headed energy, encouraging. And I think that's also my kind of energy, probably imparted to me from him.
Yes.
So that is a big thing because like I'm just not a like raise my voice person, and I really have a pretty low threshold for accepting that also. Like if someone is like getting in my face like a coach kind of vibe, I'm like, that's not really how I communicate or receive or give communication. So I think that's a big thing. I think, and all the things that everyone who I've talked to or read articles online, they say like calmness is a big thing in parenting because everything can feel like an emergency. Everything has a sense of urgency.
Interesting.
Because also like your kid can't regulate their own emotions yet. So like to them it is urgent, even if it's not.
That's good. Huh. Okay. You're a very musical person. Do you have any hopes or desires that your child will inherit some of that, or?
Uh, I mean, a little piece probably, but more because I'm like, oh, that'd be something fun we could do together, as opposed to like I could get her into the industry. I'm like that really has no bearing on my hopes. But I think it's more like I'm just more excited to find out what she's into.
Yeah.
Like just because of course I haven't met her yet. She's not born yet at the time of recording this. So like I don't know her interests. I don't know her personality, all that stuff. But I think I'm just excited to see like what she's genuinely like passionate about and like stoking that fire and being like, all right, I guess I'm passionate about dance now or like whatever. And I cannot dance at all, but just like seeing whatever she's into. And if that's music, then I'll be like, oh, cool. That one's easy. Like I know how to do that one.
Yeah.
But honestly, maybe it would be a little bit harder because I would be bad at being an amateur. So, and like it's more playful. Everyone is playfully an amateur at something. So if they're trying to have fun, you don't want to do it with a professional most of the time. So like honestly, she might be better off because I would be very capable of helping her become great at it, I think, if she wanted to be. But becoming great at something is not where the fun is,
That's a good, I might clip that out. That's good. And I'll have to keep that in mind. Because growing up for me, sports was huge because my dad was into sports, and that seemed like the main way that we bonded. And then eventually I shifted more into music stuff.
Yeah.
And that bond kind of went away. It was just like, oh, I guess we don't have anything in common. And that was a little upsetting, a little hurtful.
Totally. So he didn't venture with you into any of the music stuff?
Not necessarily. And like my mom and dad were moderately supportive. Like I showed an interest in playing trumpet, like even before I moved to Alabama. And the elementary school I was going to, it was kind of cool. Like you had your main classes in your classroom, but like once a day you would go and do like music, or you would have like an extra recess or an art class.
That's cool.
And then on Friday you would have a double up of one of those things in the week.
I like that. That's
so
cool.
I loved the music time we did. And it was kind of like high school choir. Like we would sing stuff like through sheet music. But they also introduced like a band class, and I decided to join that, and I joined and started playing trumpet. That was not good. I was good.
No one starts good.
Well, actually, I was decent to start, but I just never ever practiced, so I didn't get any better.
Got it.
But showing some interest in that, I remember my parents being like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we'll help you with this." And then moving to Alabama, joining concert band and marching band, they liked that, it seemed, from my perspective. Then joining choir, they liked that too, but like they had no idea where this would end up.
and are they musical, either of them?
Mom can sing. Dad can't do a dang thing.
Got it. Did neither of them play?
No one in my family.
Were they like really into music?
Yes, into the stuff that like they grew up on and cherished. Like Mom loved gospel stuff. Dad loved like 70s, 80s, 90s R&B. And I grew up on that. So they loved listening, but they didn't play, didn't really sing. So like me finding all this stuff, like getting involved in music was brand new for the family.
Right.
And I think that they were supportive. They just didn't know like, oh, well, maybe we can get you to go to Belmont or something. Like,
right.
I don't know.
Right.
Not that would have helped me. It probably would have hurt me.
This is going out to the public.
Yeah, really. So there was no blueprint for them to support me more or less. I don't know. It was just
I get
they were figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine like having your kid get really into something that you really don't know, or like how to like appreciate it, but not how to like engage in it. I imagine that is like a weird being like, yeah, you go and like show up to the things. Yeah, like that's really what you know how to do. Up,
Yeah.
So it's funny. I hadn't thought about how like my dad played piano growing up.
Yeah.
So, and my mom is a huge music fan. Like she just knows every word to every song that came out in the 80s. And like, just big, would always have music on in the house, spring cleaning day. Like a certain album comes on and you're like, no.
Yes. Every time, bro.
It was Shackles by like the Shackles.
Oh, thank God, yes.
Classic.
Classic.
But anytime that song came on, I was like, no. Because she was like, we're cleaning the house.
Yeah.
And I was like, man. Terrible. But yeah, my dad would play like classical, like Chopin and Mozart, all that kind of stuff. So I never really thought about, you never think about, you think everyone's house is like yours when you're growing up.
Yeah.
You think everybody is experiencing the same thing. And now I'm like, that was kind of specific.
It was very specific.
Like I was like, not everybody, especially in rural Alabama, had someone playing Chopin through the house. And it wasn't like every day, but it was like multiple times a week that he would just like sit and play for 30 minutes at a time.
Do you know when he learned?
He had lessons growing up. He and all his siblings did.
Interesting. I wish I had piano lessons. I probably would have hated them, but
you would not be in music. You would hate music. I am so okay. So if you had a great teacher,
yes,
it'd be great. I'm so anti lessons.
Interesting.
Like I know, hot take.
Not really.
But I know if you talk to any professional musician, they'll all tell you the same thing. But no, I'm just like, so here's my big take on that is there's a teaching someone to read music, but not like relative, like pitch and relative, like the scale degrees and the like basically relative pitch and all of that stuff. How the notes relate to one another, just teaching them how to see it and play it is the same thing as teaching a kid how to read, how to say the words, but not what the words mean.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as being like, oh no, they can say all the stuff, but they have no idea. There's no comprehension. So like there's so many music teachers focus on just getting it out.
Yeah.
As opposed to comprehending what's happening in the music. Whereas I feel like Miss Leonard, growing up, our choir director, she was really good at the comprehension piece of it because she did like the sight reading, like relative pitch, like she would do the 1, 2, 5, like all the different scale degrees and do what?
You got it.
Yeah. I was like making sure. I was like, I want to tape. I need to make sure I get this right.
On tape.
But no, she like made us understand like, okay, the 1 is like the root, like that's home, and this is what a 4 feels like. This is what an interval between 1 and 5 feels like. Like so, then you start hear them in songs you listen to. Anyway, I'm going off on a
no, we can go there.
But we'll get there at some point.
Yes.
But the talking about like taking piano lessons. So I think you're better off having not taken piano lessons because I think you would think music. I think you would get a false impression of what it is to be engaged in music, and that counterfeit would have been less appealing than what you experienced later.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I want to be good at something. That's the thing. I wish someone would have helped me be good at something, whether it was trumpet or even like singing, which I did have vocal teachers, which was helpful. But I have a problem taking the time to practice anything to get better. I want to be good. I want to be great. I don't want to practice. And I feel like those many people
are at
have
odds
things. Incredibly so. And it helps to like define the thing that you do have the desire to practice to get better. Because like even with my job, like you can, no one knows what's going to be great, but you can study what has come before it to see like, okay, what are the characteristics of something that was great? Does this song that I'm listening to right now, does it have those characteristics? Could it be great? You can study that.
Yes.
But though piano and like trumpet and even singing were not things that I was like, yeah, I want to take the time to study.
Yeah, no, I get that.
To be better. I don't know.
I mean, maybe like performance is just not your thing.
I think that's fair.
Because I thought it was my thing for a while. And I still enjoyed performing some every now and then, but like more like a writer's round context. Whereas I kind of learned, I was like, oh, that's not where the thrill is for me. So maybe you just have always known that the performance piece of music is not where the thrill is for you.
Where is the thrill for you?
Creation, like through and through. Like I've always known that. I have never felt like, oh, my favorite thing is to go out there and play the songs with a pit in my stomach. No, I have never, like, I enjoy the thrill, especially if you're like in a like worship team or a band, or like,
Sure.
like you go out there with like, there's a sense of camaraderie, and that's awesome. I have always loved that. But like, and also like playing in church is such a different, like it's not a performance. You're not trying to be entertaining.
Yeah.
It's a different thing. But yeah, I have never been like, ooh, I love getting out there in front of a bunch of strangers and trying to convince them that I'm talented. That's not my thing. But I do love like making something new and like working on it, like finding a melody, or like an artist has an idea that is a melody or is a title, and being like, okay, that's really strong. But like here, you're doing like this thing. If you just switch this note here, it will parallel this, and then it'll do that, and then we can repeat that over. And just finding ways to like just take it from like, take the nugget of like, ooh, there's something about that, and like flesh it out to a finished product. I just love.
I have a little bit of that, not in the songwriting sense, of course, but like hearing a song from an artist or a few songs, being like, oh, like what if we did this and here, and like thinking of the sequence and like, okay, maybe we write a song that says this or has this vibe. I'm more of a big idea kind of dreamer.
Yep.
Like that sounds even more granular, and thank God for you.
Sure.
But no, like we share that a little bit, but in perpendicular lanes. I feel like that's been a lot of our story together.
Yeah.
It's like running together similarly, but perpendicular, not quite parallel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree with that.
Well, let's take a quick break. I'm going to change some stuff around. We'll come back. Welcome back. Took a short break. And now I would love to talk about your songwriting journey. When did you realize you were a writer, even more of a writer than an artist or performer?
So it's a great question and a very loaded question.
We got time.
Okay, so because you were around for the beginning of it.
I was. And I'll interject when I remember something, which probably won't happen because I have a bad memory.
Fair. But no, so it started so I was like 13 when I wrote my first song.
Do you remember what it was called?
I think my first like song was a song called Free.
Okay.
It's a Christian song.
Sure.
It was about Job. It had nothing to do with being free.
Lame.
It was not good because it's my first song. It was really bad actually. But it started with just like, I'm like, oh, I know how to play Don't Stop Believin' on piano. And then like I learned it on guitar because I got a guitar for my 13th birthday. And then I was like, oh, I wish I had a way to like play both at the same time. So I got this little recorder thing, I think for Christmas. And then could record myself playing the guitar part, and then I could play keys along with it. And I recorded them, and it didn't even have like a computer with it. It was just, and that little recorder came with a trial version of Cubase. Interesting. Which is what I still use. Yeah. So much to the chagrin of my co-writers. It's me and like two other guys in town. But I've just never moved over to another digital audio workstation. But so that kind of was the start of me being like, oh, I can do things together at the same time. And then it was like, oh, what if I did something? What if I have the guitar chords laid down? What if I didn't play Don't Stop Believin' over it? What if I made up my own thing? Sure. And so I kind of made up my own thing. I'm like, this is so cool. You know, like you think you're the best thing. Of course. Like you're like, this is the coolest thing ever. Because it's like your idea. And then you like did it. And you're like, oh, I made a thing. Like that feeling is just addictive, I think. Yeah. It has always felt like the closest thing to actual like creation to me that I have ever gotten, because like there is a thing that exists that did not exist. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that is really fun. And I just kind of got hooked on that. And eventually I would like have a melody. And then I was like, oh, it could like have like these words. And I would like sing it. And I could not sing at all. It was horrible. Like,
That's great.
Like I remember this is the setup for a very poetic moment later, actually. It's kind of nice. So I remember I was like 13 and I wanted to like be a part of like a band and like sing and like not like lead singer or whatever.
Sure.
And I remember like I was like, I cannot sing. Like I was like listening to recording. I was like, I'm not good. And so I remember praying. I was like, God, if you will like give me a good voice where I can sing. Like in my like 13-year-old words, I was like, I'll sing for you or whatever. You know,
wow, it's a bold prayer.
I know. So, but I was like, what do I have to lose? I don't have a good voice now. So it was like
true.
So I remember praying that prayer. And it was, I mean, within like a few weeks, and it was a lot of it probably attributed to, you know, chicken or the egg on the prayer. But I was trying to sing a lot more. So then I kind of grew into my voice or whatever. So whether God used that or whatever, you know, for any of the audience who may believe, but
He used it for me.
yeah, right. So anyway, it did feel like an answered prayer that I then began to sing and was like able to at least like carry a tune to the point where I would just go upstairs after school every day and just like write a song, and I would just sing it, record it, and I'd be like, all right, I did it, and then I would do another one the next day. I wrote every day for months and months. And then eventually I played a song for the worship leaders at Iron City where I was going to church, Lance and Tara DeMerchant. And it was so funny because I was like so nervous. I'd never really played. I think I'd played the song for my mom, or maybe I hadn't played it for my mom yet. I was just going to show Lance and Tara first.
Interesting.
And I like went in and I was like, hey, like I know y'all write songs. Can I show you the song I wrote? And I like played the song. And they were like, can you sing How He Loves real quick? And I was like, what? I just bore my heart in song to you. And so the backstory.
Yeah, that's great. Can you sing this other good song?
So the backstory in that is they had stepped in and were filling in for the youth, like the youth group Wednesday nights leading worship, because the rule had always been that it had to be a student leading. They liked having a student worship leader.
Okay.
And the guy had just graduated who had been doing it, and they didn't have anybody else to fill in. They were like leading the practices and scheduling and doing all the stuff. And I had been playing keys, I think, a little bit, and drums. But then so I did that, and they were like, this could be the guy. Because I didn't know. They had been praying for God to send like a worship leader from the students to whatever. So that was where they went. I mean, it was like, oh, he can play and sing. He could be the guy. And I was in like 8th grade. So it was like, oh, he could be a 5-year mainstay.
Yes.
You know? We have to find another person in 6 months.
It's like drafting a quarterback. Like, okay, in the first round, we know he's going to be there for 4 years with a 5th-year option.
Yeah, right.
We don't have to pay him that much.
None. So anyway, that was where they were at. So they were like, and then I played and sang, and they're like, would you want to be the youth worship leader? And I was like,
that's a bold question to ask a 14-year-old.
Well, and I don't know that they said it that way, because that wound up happening when I was in 10th grade.
Okay,
like they were like,
then Yep.
So I think, and at 8th grade they were like, would you start leading songs?
Okay, yeah.
So I was like, yes. And so I started doing that. And then by the time I was in 10th grade, they were like, hey, well, you take over and like run the practices and stuff. And then practices were on Sunday afternoons. We had started doing basketball practices on Sunday afternoons.
Good God.
So, and basketball had been my like life
of course.
Up until then.
That's how we met.
Yes, that's how we met in 6th grade. So then I just made the varsity team. And so then I wound up leaving that in 10th grade, and it was a whole thing.
It was.
Like a whole social suicide, you know?
Pretty much.
My reputation. They're like, we knew we were right about you.
Right.
So anyway, so they asked me back in 8th grade, they were like, oh, would you start leading songs? And I was like, yes. And I was like, and what about the song I showed you? And then they were like, oh, we love it. Can you play it again? And played it again. And
that's nice.
And then we talked through it. Like, oh, I love the chorus melody. And like, we kind of dissect, which no one had ever done before.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know anyone who knew what those things were. I don't even know if that song had like a chorus. It might have, but like, I don't know that I knew sections yet.
Sure.
So So anyway, started doing that. They wound up creating an internship for me at the church where I would come in every day, and this is the part that I've told this story a gazillion times in Nashville, all the coffee meetings. But so they made an internship for me through high school. Started in May, I think it was maybe 10th grade. And I would come in every day after school. I would get to leave school at like 1 and then show up for the internship. And they would have a top 40 song and a like top 40 worship song, like top 10 worship song. And we would go through, we would mark the stressed and unstressed syllables of the whole song, talk about melodic repetition and deviation. We would do chorus structure, verse structure, motif, like all the like the nerdy side of it of like rhyme scheme and are there internal rhymes, assonance rhymes, and just all of that kind of dissecting. Like, okay, these songs feel really good to sing. Why do they feel really good to sing?
Yeah.
Because you see, these songs have all these things going on, and this song that sings like dog water doesn't have any of that stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying it was my song. I'm saying some other song that was like, oh, that one doesn't feel good to sing. It's like, oh, because when we mark up these other songs, it's dripping with ink.
Yes.
And then when we do this one, there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
So that was like, I mean, just being taken to school on songs that work and resonate with people.
Yeah.
So, which I didn't realize at the time how valuable that was. Like
invaluable.
Yeah, no, right. I was like, oh yeah, this is like how everyone who has ever written a song has been shown how to write a song.
Yeah.
That's literally what I thought until I was like 23. 22,
So not
23.
that long ago.
yeah, right. Yeah, like 5 years ago. I'm 28. So, yeah, and then it's what was the question initially, which is how did I get started?
Yeah, what's your songwriting journey? So this is
Songwriting. Okay, so to then continue, and I'll try and keep it moderately abbreviated for
Whatever.
this part. But I just don't want to bore people. I feel like I've said this so many times, but some people may be hearing it for the first time.
For sure.
So then when I was in, we were in college. You had already transferred.
Okay, yeah, let me stop right here. When did I come into play in your songwriting journey?
that's so
So yeah,
true.
let's go back a little bit.
I mean, pretty much from the beginning of it. Like I had, it's definitely as soon as I started showing people songs, you were, I'm sure, one of the people that I showed a song.
Why do you think that was? Why did you trust me with these?
We were close. We were tight. It was like, and back then, like when you're like 8th grade, like you're closer to friends than you are to family. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, when we're talking about Inside Out 2, we were talking about that earlier. I thought it was a funny, cheeky little thing, the islands. And it was like, oh, where's the family island? And it was like so tiny. It was like, what's that huge one? It's like, that's Friendship Island.
Yeah.
So it's just, I was like, that's so accurate. Like when you're a teenager, like it's all about your friends. So it's like, I imagine it was just like, you were one of the closest people to me at the time. And you were also a believer and were involved in a youth group. You like knew the kind of music I was going for too.
Yeah.
So it was like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm trying to be Jesus culture.
Yeah. It's funny because like when I moved to Alabama, I had only grown up on, like we talked about earlier, like the 70s, 80s, 90s R&B from my dad and the gospel from my mom. Like meeting you, being so passionate about music, but in a different sphere and like the CCM worship stuff, I really latched onto that. So yeah, I did know where you were coming from, trying to make stuff that sounded like the stuff we were obsessed with at the time.
Yeah. Yes, obsessed is the correct word.
Yes,
As someone with OCD. Yeah. So yeah, I think from the beginning, and then it was also like, again, back then it wasn't songwriting. It was like making music. You know, it was like, it wasn't like this thing that is now my job and something that is very closely associated with your job. It was more like a thing. It was like shooting hoops, like playing basketball in the driveway. It was like, oh, that's more fun if you have a friend to do it with, as opposed to just shooting alone, you know? So like, it was probably also that. It was like, oh, hey, we're tight. This is a thing that I'm really into. He also does music. We should do music together. Like, that sounds fun.
Yeah. And it was fun.
It was great.
When did the first record come out?
I think we were 14, 15.
Oh my God.
I know.
It's too young.
It is too young. But yeah, so we wrote an album of 12 songs. I think it was 12 songs.
I don't remember.
You cannot find them now.
No, you literally cannot.
So
do not try.
camera. This is my Jim from The Office moment. But no, yeah, they're pulled down now. But I think it was 12 songs. The album was called Move My Heart.
Mm-hmm.
I still like that melody of that chorus.
I remember it, yeah.
I know. I'm like, I still remember it. I'm ancient. But so that album we put out, And this was back when it wasn't as easy to put out an album.
Yeah, no.
Not everybody had streaming, and there wasn't Apple Music.
Yeah.
This was before Spotify and Apple Music. I'm just realizing
Which is so disgusting.
How decrepitly old we are. I had not thought about that because there was iTunes.
Yeah.
It even sounds so old to say out loud.
Yeah.
But no, so we just put it on iTunes, and then I got some physical copies and sold those at church. I remember they put it my album cover on the front of the program at church one time and let me lead some of the songs, and they told everybody
awesome.
I had an album that came out, and I sold one. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
It was really cool. For a 14, 15-year-old, that was cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. So anyway, we wrote that one. You sang background vocals on a lot of them too. And then the second record, which was objectively the best of the three.
Interesting.
We did that one, I think it came out when we were 17, probably.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then most of these, I would say you probably wrote on at least half of them.
That's probably right.
And so, the second one, I had at least gotten my bearings on how to produce a song.
Okay.
And I spend a lot of time producing the songs.
Yeah.
So much time, hundreds and hundreds of hours, and you can't tell.
Well, you can't hear it anyway.
Yeah, that's true. No, then for the record, it sounds like the best thing you've ever heard. No, that wasn't that good, but some of the production wasn't bad on those, and I think those songs were very well written on the second record. And then wound up doing another one that came out,
and we're in college at this point.
Freshman year of college, so
Yes.
we were 19. So yeah, I think it was 14, 17, and 19. I think
That's a good pace.
I know, right? We were doing the thing for 100 people.
Yeah.
So and then that album came out, and I was trying to do the EDM thing. We were both obsessed with Zed and
Oh my
Maddie
God.
at the time. So
You're going to hear about both of them today later on in the show.
Good. Yeah, we were all in the EDM thing. Hillsong Young and Free was a big part of that.
One of my favorite records of all time.
It's so good. So yeah, so we were very much in that thing, and I was leading in church for youth groups and college ministries all the time. So I was trying to write that kind of stuff, the Hillsong Young and Free stuff was resonating in youth groups at the time. And then just went too far on it, and it was just and also EDM is very technical on production, and that was just not a skill that I had or have now. So the production was lackluster is kind, but the songwriting was still pretty good. I'm still proud of the songs. I think the songs were pretty fire. I mean, not commercially viable,
Sure,
but they were good. They were good at doing what they were doing.
Yeah,
but so yeah, and we wound up going on Talk of Alabama and had some cool little moments. And
we did.
Played some songs. When I wound up proposing to my wife, it was a pump fake where Sierra thought she and I were going to do a song together on Talk of Alabama, which I had kind of pulled some strings to even have them let me do that because of a disaster that had happened when we were on before.
One of the worst moments of my entire life.
So
I'm not joking. I'm looking at every camera right now. One of the worst moments of my life. And let's take a quick detour real quick. Because the first time
I'd forgotten about this story, actually.
The first time we went, it was excellent.
It was so good.
Sierra's her cousin, right? Worked there.
Yes. I'd forgotten that was the end. Yeah, it was Erica. Yeah.
So she set us up, she was the connect. We came through. We played one song. It was an acoustic version of one of the EDM things we were doing.
And it was the best song on the album for sure.
Went well. So maybe a year later, we're hey, let's go back.
And do it as we were doing a duo at the time called Centric.
Yes. So we're we're going to go back. We're going to do it again. We know the deal. You're basically the front man. They're going to talk to you about everything.
Mm-hmm.
It'll go fine. We get there and we say that okay, yeah, you're going to ask him the questions. I think they ran through the questions real quick or whatever. We go live. They come to me with the questions.
Really? I don't remember this.
I think about it every day and night. They come to me with the questions.
That is awesome. I did not.
And they're not even exactly what we had just gone over, what was going to be talked about. So I'm stammering and not knowing what to say. My improv was bad that day. It was awful. And
amazing.
Then we go to play the song and we got nothing in the ears.
Okay. And so let me set the scene.
Please do.
For why this is so bad. Okay. So for any of you who are not musicians. So basically we go, it's just, so I did not know this. Any daytime TV kind of stuff, it's all or at least to the best of my knowledge, this is the only one I've done. No, I've done one other. It's all one big room. And like it's kind of just like shot in vignettes in that big room. So everyone is watching each other do their segments.
Yes.
Which was also awful. And so we're doing an EDM song this time because that was like our whole shtick as like a duo. So it was not an acoustic version.
No.
It was like the track. So like the whole production was going to happen behind us. I had like a whole like DJ rig kind of thing. I was playing keys live, but that was running through my computer as well. And then we each had microphones and we were singing the thing. So we go to do this song and we like in sound check, everything was fine.
Yes.
Everything was great.
It's
like
great.
Cool. We did the whole thing. And I was like, that's a cool song. And I was like, oh, that's great. And we go live in front of like 25,000 people, something like that. And there's no audio. So like we do the interview and then
I do the interview.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. That's fair. Apparently Steven does the interview.
Which was bad. And then
and then I like hit play. Now imagine. So I'm hitting play on my computer and it's gonna start the track and we're gonna hear like verse 2, 3, 4, and then we're gonna start playing and singing our song. And I hit play, and granted, keep in mind, there's like the weather person, there's like the chef person, the two hosts, the cameramen or camera people, and everyone, and they're all just looking at us. And I hit play, and there is no sound. And we're live in front of like 20-something thousand people. And so there's no audio, so we just start singing.
to nothing. We can't hear keys.
So we start singing an EDM song, a cappella.
It was so bad.
And we're just like, literally the whole point was like, we're like, oh, it's like our brand. Like we're going to try and get people to like book us. So we're like supposed to like be moving and so it's like, there's no music. So to this day, we still don't know if the audio was playing through the TV and just not in our ears, which would mean that we were out of time and key for the whole thing. And that is a thing that might exist somewhere.
No, we wrote to them, said, hey, because like they record everything and like keep it on YouTube or something.
Oh, that's right.
We were like, hey, do not have record of that.
That's true. You're right. We did.
Yeah.
So because of that,
good Lord,
I twisted their arm into letting me propose because they were like, we don't actually do that. We don't let people propose on our show. And I was like, you
freaking owe me.
I remember saying something like, you ruined my career or something. Like I was like you weren't wrong. I was like it was. I didn't use the word mockery, but I was like, you made a fool of me in front of 20-something thousand people and whatever. I was like, I didn't say it that rudely. I was not being a jerk. But I remember it was like a little more than I was comfortable. I was like, it's like I felt big and bad for sending it, but it was actually not very worded like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, would y'all let me propose like to make it up to me? And they were like, yeah.
And it was awesome.
And it was great.
Yeah.
The proposing was awesome.
Amazing.
It was so good. And you were there for that too.
I sure was. It was part of the ruse. I didn't have any role in the proposal. Just that's like, true. Oh yeah, we're going to go play again. And I was just there.
Yes, that's true. Well, because also we were still roommates at the time.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, because I mean, that would be easy to sell. Be like, oh yeah, you just wanted to come along.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, let's go back to the topic.
Okay.
So we were living together. You had put out the third record. So like, it's out now.
Oh yeah.
What's next in your songwriting journey?
And this is the part I usually don't include in the coffee version of this. But I was sending out Facebook DMs, Instagram. I don't know if I did Instagram at this point.
Maybe not.
I was scouring the internet for emails. Like I literally like watched a bunch of videos on like Google search terms and stuff so I could learn how to search better and to search for people's email addresses and contact information to try and get my album in front of people. And wound up sending it to a bunch of folks. And then a couple people responded, but one guy at Dream Records in LA responded and was like, hey, these songs are good. And I was like, we're not ready to sign up. And I was like,
right. Yes. He's like, I'm not either.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So anyway, he sets up a phone call with us, which you well remember.
Of course.
And I was putting the cart miles before the horse. I had already like done research that are like, don't sign a 360 deal.
Sure, yeah, which
like,
don't.
and they're like, don't sign 360, and like, do you want to get a few number of albums in the contract so that you can renew? And I was like, because it was all brand new, and I was like, we're about to be famous.
Yeah,
they were talking to a record label. So,
to be fair, I never felt any of that.
I know, it was all me. It was all me, just being me.
Sure.
I was just very excited and very excitable. And because I had never thought about, I honestly, it had never crossed my mind to like be a professional musician other than a worship leader. Because that's what the context, and even the songs I was putting out, I was leading them in church.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what I thought the context for that was. So on this phone call, I make a fool of myself, and I'm like, ooh, I said a couple things, and he was like, oh no, we're not like, he was like, this is not that conversation. This is just like a get to know each other. And I was like, oh, okay. And like now looking back at it, I can see all the things where it was like, oh yeah, that was the first meeting thing that we all do and whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that at the time. And so very much made a fool of myself. But then he was like, if you guys can get 5,000 SoundCloud subscribers or followers and play 50 shows by the end of the year. Maybe it was 100 shows.
I think it was 100.
He was like, play 100 shows. And there wasn't a time thing. It was just play 100 shows. Then I'd be ready to sign you guys. And I was like, there it is. It's cut out and clear for us.
From my perspective, I was like, oh, no, thank you.
and we hang up, and I'm like, I draft an email, and I'm like getting emails of churches being like, can we come play this? And like all this stuff. We played one show.
We sure did.
Other than the TV disaster.
No, jeez. Yeah.
We played the one show that no one came to, but it was a good time. It was
fun. It was a good time.
And then, kind of gave up because you had decided, he had on the phone told us that we should read How to Make It, Everything You Need to Know About the Music Business.
By Donald Passman.
Yes. And I was like, no, thank you. And
that's
you were,
funny. And I had the opposite.
And you were like, hey, I'm going to read it. And you read it.
I did.
And you were like, I want to be, I think you said a manager at the time.
Maybe.
Because we didn't know what A&R was
yet. That sounds right, yeah.
So, but you had mainly said like, I want to go be like a manager or like an agent. Maybe you said agent, actually.
I can never be an agent. Oh.
But like, it was just the vibe of like, I want to go like work on the industry side.
Yes.
And I remember I was like, I don't think that's a thing you can just go do.
And you're right.
And I was right. Yeah. But then you decided you were going to transfer to MTSU.
Yeah. Well, to Lee at that point.
That's true. Yeah. You transferred to Lee first and then to MTSU. Mm-hmm. And then.
So yeah, I leave and you're still back in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
So you were still songwriting after I left. After we called it quit.
Yep, still writing songs. I was leading worship in the college ministry at that point, and so I was just writing songs to lead for Engage, our college ministry. Then I got like a songwriting thing together with like the Engage band, and would lead the band in writing songs. And that was fun. We were doing those songs, and they went over really well, and I just have always enjoyed that piece of writing. So I kept that going, but I had not actually been. I had started a social media advertising business that we were working together on too.
We were.
And I'm working on getting clients, and it was actually going really well for a little bit. And then they changed the algorithm, and like all the clients were like, "Hey," and I was like, "Yeah, you're right." And so I just quit. That was after like maybe year and a half of doing that. But so my degree was in marketing. So then I'm like about to graduate, and maybe had just graduated. So I had another year, and get hit up by our friend Asher Postman, who we knew through SoundCloud. Of
course.
The most niche group of all time. The Christian EDM SoundCloud producers.
Yes.
That's a lot of hoops.
A lot of niche.
Yeah. There were like 12 of us. So knew Asher through that. We had written maybe once or twice with him on Zoom. On Google Hangouts, actually. Before Zoom was cool. So he randomly hits me up and is like, hey, you want to write? I'm working on some stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And so we hop on a Google Hangout thing. I don't think I even knew at this point that you had sent
probably not
Asher's profile. Because I don't think we knew that. I don't think did John respond to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then like maybe 2 weeks after I sent it, he responded. He was like, yeah, I like Asher. His production is dope. We're going to use him with some Capital artists.
Okay. Maybe you explain this part first.
Well, let me do that in a second. We're going to take a quick break, change some stuff around. We'll be back. Welcome back. We took a kind of abrupt break, and now we're going to talk about the part of the story where I reached out to the guy who got involved with Asher, and Asher brought you in. I was at Lee at the time. I'd been there for about 2 years, hadn't made any progress. Like you were saying, like when we had the call with Lance 2 years ago at this point, I had thought, okay, maybe the industry is where I belong. So I go to Lee. They had started a brand new music industry tract, and it just wasn't for me. It was a lot of vocal training because like you had to join as an instrumentalist or a vocalist, and I didn't play any instruments. So I was like, okay, I'll join and use my voice, but like knowing full well that I won't be using that for my career. But it was just so vocal heavy. I was like, oh man, I'm not really learning in the industry stuff. This kind of sucks. So 2 years in, one day I Google music industry jobs and I come across A&R. I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds cool. Maybe I could do that. And how would I do that? So then I thought, who are some Christian music A&Rs I could reach out to? And I guess kind of like you, just trying to find someone in the industry or an email or whatever. And I come across this guy named John Sell, who was working at Capitol in their A&R department at the time. And I sent him a cold LinkedIn message with a link to a SoundCloud producer, Asher Postman.
I will add, you paid for a month of like LinkedIn Gold or whatever.
Yes, it was like $60, which I didn't have, but it was a free trial for a month. And I had to write down like, hey, cancel this as soon as possible, because I literally did not have $60. But I signed up, sent the DM to Sell, and Sell hits me back 2 weeks later. He's like, yo, I listened to this guy's stuff. Sounds pretty good. Like, I think we might want to get him involved. And I was like, oh my God, dude, this is crazy. Like, did I really just do this? So apparently after that, Asher hits you up and like, hey, you want to write? Because like we had written with him years before.
Right.
And we really enjoyed our time writing with him because he was amazing as a producer.
Yeah, he's great.
So yeah, going back to your part of the story, he hits you up, asks to write.
Yes.
And he's already involved with Capitol.
And I have no idea about any of this at this point. So it's like this triangle of things that I don't know that any of us are really aware of yet that you started. So he hits me up. We write a song. I remember being like, that's a good song. It's really solid. And he was like, at the end of the Google Hangout, like meeting session or whatever, he was like, dude, you're like really good at this. Like I'm really impressed. You're really good at like the blah, blah, blah. And I was like, thanks, man. Like, I appreciate that. And he had mentioned earlier on when we were just kind of catching up that he had been doing some more legit sessions lately.
Okay.
And so at the end of the session, it was just like, oh, this was great. All right, thanks. Bye. And then I remember like later on that day, or maybe just like an hour later, I typed up a text to Asher that was basically like, hey, you said you'd been doing some more like legit sessions recently. Is there anybody you could introduce me to that could help me do some more like legit sessions too? And I remember this so vividly. I typed it up and I started backspacing it. And I like held the backspace where it starts like jumping back and like skipping multiple words at a time. And then I did that and almost deleted the whole thing. And then I was like, what can it hurt? Because I started backspacing because I was like, I don't want to be that guy who's like asking for contacts or whatever. But then I was like, what can it hurt? Sure. Send that text. If I had not sent that text, I would not be in Nashville right now.
Oh, yeah.
So Asher winds up saying like, yeah, of course, which is very generous of him. And he asks John if he can give me his email address. So, which at the time I was like, that's a big ask.
Absolutely.
So I was just like, and he didn't hear back for 3 weeks, maybe a month. And I was just like,
nope, there it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, why? And I was like checking my email or like my texts/emails constantly. Like, is he going to connect us? And blah, blah, blah. And then he wound up saying like, oh yeah, he said I could give you his email address. So he gave me his email address. And I sent, the point of getting his email address was to be able to send a few songs and see if he was interested and like could help me meet some people. And I did some research on him. And I actually told John the other day about this little piece of it on the phone. I looked him up and saw that he worked in like the CCM space primarily, and like some artists on his roster and all that. And so I was like, okay, so I've been writing worship stuff. He doesn't do worship stuff, which now I know I could have sent worship stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to write some CCM songs, which I'd never really done. So I was like, I need to write some CCM songs. And so went and wrote 3 CCM songs and did acoustic demos and sent them. And I remember I thought I was like, he's going to be coming through. Because at this point, remember, I thought that the way you knew good songs was by if they had the assonance rhymes in the places where it feels like it should have an assonance rhyme. If it was a tight rhyme scheme, if it was a unique and interesting rhyme scheme, if there was a straggling syllable in verse 2, or they added a thing. Like that's what I thought was like, that's what I've been taught. This is what makes a great song. So I'm like, oh man, so people who work at Capitol, like they're gonna be like, they will not accept a straggling syllable. Or I'm serious, this is what I thought.
Of course.
Which he's laughing because of how ridiculous that is, knowing now.
Yeah.
But on that side,
you're
like,
still the only person who thinks about
yeah, exactly. But I can see why I thought that at that point.
Sure.
So I was like, oh my gosh, they have to be the tightest songs ever. So I write these like perfect songs,
Yeah.
And send them over to Sel, and he's like, oh, these are cool. You have any more? And I was like, yeah, I did not.
Yeah.
And so I wrote 3 more and then sent them. And also it's like 6 to 8 weeks between emails with him.
Geez.
Like,
Yeah.
so literally I'm like, especially after the first one, like I send the 3 songs and I'm like, the door is cracked open into the music industry. And so I'm like, I checked my email hundreds of times a day.
Wow.
Like,
dude.
I was just like, someone please. Cause like I had no idea until this point, other than our interaction with Dream Records, had not thought about like music being a career. And definitely up until this point, did not know songwriting. Like you could just be a songwriter.
Yeah. Good Lord.
Did not know that. So I didn't know what a publishing company was at this point. I didn't know, like there's so much that I didn't know. So I'm like waiting. He eventually responds to the first one and is like, these are good. Do you have any more? Then I write some more, send them. And he was like, hey, these are pretty good too. Would you want to like have a meeting, like come hang and like just kind of meet up at my office here at Capitol? And I was like, yes. I was so nervous.
I can't imagine.
Because again, this is all I've ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
Was write songs. Like I didn't know it was a job, but like I always thought I wanted to be like on staff at a church just to write songs for the church. Or I wanted to songwriting has always been like my favorite thing to do. So like this could be a chance to get to do this for a living. It's crazy. And so it was December 12th, I think, was our first meeting. I know. So we like literally my in-laws, they like booked a like an Airbnb in Nashville for us. Me and Sierra went with them up and stayed for the weekend or whatever. And on our way up, I get an email from John saying that there had been a family emergency and that he had to reschedule.
Dang. Which happens, of course.
Yeah, which just happens, especially if it's a family emergency.
Yeah. And
also, and I'm sure that was legit, but also I'm like, I was not the top of a priority list either.
No way.
So
yeah.
But so I was devastated going in, and I was just like, because I think the fear was like, will he just not reschedule?
Sure.
Will he just not find another day? And so I was just like, oh. And so I had also reached out to a guy named Joel Vaughn, who we had briefly interacted with. Well, no, we never actually interacted with him. He was just at Dream, so we knew of him. And I had reached out and been like, hey, I really like your stuff. You want to write? And he was like, yeah. And so I had a session scheduled for that on the Friday. So I was supposed to have that meeting in the morning, I think, with Sal, and then I was going to write in the afternoon with Joel and Ross King. Joel was pulling in Ross King, who would be the first signed writer that I ever wrote with.
Wow.
So I was like, oh my gosh, like he's pulling in a signed writer. Like, this is crazy. Somebody writes songs for a living. And Ross got sick.
I didn't know that.
So I show up and write with, so my
That's
morning meeting is
good.
canceled, and then I write with just Joel, and then I'm just in town for the weekend. And we just kind of we just like went around, and
Was I here at the time?
you were in Murfreesboro, I think.
Yeah, I think we hung out somewhere.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we did.
Yeah.
I'm sure we did. So,
Okay. That sucks.
So yeah, and then I go back, and then he reschedules for in the new year, I think. Or maybe the first one was the November one, and then the December 12th one was the one that actually happened, maybe.
Yeah, because I met him in January at his office.
Yes.
And I know you were very closely before that.
Yes.
So it must have been
So
December.
it was probably late November that I was supposed to, and then we rescheduled for December 12th. So then I come up, and Ross does join me and Joel for a day then, so we kind of make up that write,
Cool.
which is my first write with a signed writer, which was, I was like super like trying to be impressive and whatever. And then, but I remember I like showed them some songs that I had written, and they were like, yeah, those are good. Like nothing stands out about them. And I was like, devastated.
Yeah, it's hard to hear that when songs are a piece of you.
Yes, I was so much more precious about, because also I'm like constantly evaluating whether or not I can make it.
And
at
putting
that
your
point.
worth in the songs. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I'm like constantly, at that point being like, this is a representation of my ability.
Yeah.
Because it was one of 6,
Yeah.
not one of 6,000.
Totally.
So, so anyway, did that session. I had the meeting with John. I was so unimpressive. I remember lint rolling my black pants before walking in because I was like, I like looked the part, and I was like so anxious.
I feel that.
I was like so, because I was like, this is my one shot.
Yeah.
If I don't do, like, I probably won't get another one of these, which I don't think I was right. So anyway, by the end of it, he did not slide a deal across the table or anything like that. Let's see, what was it? Yeah, what am I saying?
I don't know.
I'm just losing my train of thought. Yeah, he didn't slide a deal across the table, but he did introduce me to 2 people.
Okay.
He introduced me to a producer who a month later wound up signing at Fairtrade, and a producer who a month later wound up signing at Essential.
Cool.
So their deals were already in process. I realize now at that point.
No, yeah.
So John probably knew that and was, introducing me, or maybe he didn't. But he introduced me to people who were clearly doing well enough that publishers were about to sign them.
Yeah.
So then I start working with them through some events, end up talking to their publishers, because there aren't that many new top-liners in the Christian world that often.
What's top lining?
Top-lining is the stuff that's not producing. And you're not the artist, you're not doing the demo, it's the other stuff. So that can be chords, it can be idea, it can be melody, it can be all the nerd stuff that I talk about. But so it's all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, technically top-lining isn't chords.
Let's move on.
Yeah, but I do chords. But because top lining comes from
if you want to go there,
because top lining comes from EDM, actually, where there's a track and you're just top lining. You're singing the top line over the track. Okay, so
now you know,
and now you all know. But so wound up meeting with their publishers. So I had 2 publishing meetings my first month in town. So I felt like
this is already impeccable.
Yeah, I'm like,
there are so many people who work for years and years and never get to meet anyone at that level.
Yes.
Of influence.
Yes,
yeah.
I was very, very just fortunate, blessed. The doors were opened for me. That was at that point. Very little of that was about my ability to write songs. And maybe you could argue a little bit of it was my ability to just hang.
That's a lot of it, for sure.
So,
which
I was not good at yet. I will say, I don't want to give myself too much credit there, because I was pretty awkward. And gosh, in one of my first publishing meetings, classic me, was way too forward and like getting into the business. So, like, I literally was like, my first meeting with Jamie Rogers at Essential, whom I love. She's the best. She was the first publisher to ever put me in a session.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. We got coffee at Dose in Nashville before I was about to head to work to Verizon, which is a whole other thing. And we met over there, and I was like, so why, if I got offers from your company and from the other companies in town. Why should I sign with you guys? Like, what do you do better than the other companies? Which is maybe the worst thing you can say. and like literally, it was like, "Hi, I'm Jonathan. Hi, I'm Jamie. What is the?" And it was like so inappropriate and so overstepping. Like, she was just trying to get to know me. She didn't know me from anybody. She'd probably heard 2 of my songs. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So anyway, that I was not just crushing it from the time I moved here. But she was generous enough and gracious enough with me to kind of explain a lot of the industry to me that I did not know. And like what a publishing company it was, it is, and all that stuff. So that was great. Everyone had a lot of grace with me because I was so green. So green. And learned the whole process and the systems of everything, which helps me a lot. Like, I'm very much wired that way where I need to know how the whole thing works before I can really like figure out how I fit into it. And then from there, worked at Verizon for 2 years.
So, okay, let's stop a little bit. When did you decide to move from Alabama to Tennessee?
Pretty much right after this stuff started happening. So this was before the publishing meetings, and it was like right after like John invited me up, and then I met the 2 producers. I started making trips every like 6 weeks. Would crash on your couch.
Yes. Well, yeah, let me interject here. I moved here, when did I move here? 2018. Yes,
is that
correct.
Recent?
Yeah, 2018. Because after I had reached out to Sel through LinkedIn and he had shown interest in Asher, I felt like, maybe I could do this A&R thing. Maybe I could do it in Christian music. Let me maybe move to where all the Christian music is happening. So I decided to move closer into the Middle Tennessee area, Murfreesboro, settled there, started going to Middle Tennessee State, dropped out after a year. And then I just started trying to make connections. And when you came up to me with Sel in December, you were very heavily pitching me in your meeting. Yeah. And I think he's finally like, damn it, fine, I'll meet this dude. get him off my back. So we had met early January 2019. And like you, I was freaking out the night before going in there. I literally could not sleep. Like, not an exaggeration. I couldn't sleep the night before because I was just like, this could be my only shot. And like, and unlike you, I don't have songs to be like, oh, this is good, we're gonna plug you in. I'm just a guy. I'm just a person going into an office. And I guess it's about the hang or who like I have identified that he doesn't know. Right. So like we had our meeting. It was maybe like an hour. I showed him some artists that I was feeling. So like SEU was one of those, and like they ended up signing it. Providence, that's cool. Oh yeah. Charlie Powers was one. I've already shouted him out on the show at least once, I think. And a couple of Akleso, another like Christian rapper who's still popping off. There was a small list of people. I was like, okay, these people I think are dope, and not a lot of people know about them. And he didn't like show his cards if he knew about any of these people or not. He's pretty
very
reserved.
Close to the best.
And it was like fine and pleasant. But at the end of this meeting, I was like, hey, and God only knows what consumed me. Sorry. Well, I was thinking of Beach Boys. Who knows why I decided to ask this question? I don't know if I had it in the moment or the night before, if I was thinking about it even before that, but I asked him at the end of the meeting, hey, would you want to be my mentor? Because basically I don't know what I'm doing yet, but I would like to. Yep. And he thought about it for a second. He was like, yeah, sure, we can find the time. And I was like, whatever you're up for, bro.
All I am is time.
Yeah, I'm into it. So like, from my perspective, being here in 2018, when I moved there, got a job delivering pizza, and that was my job until I started at Centricity 3.5 years later. So I had the time in the morning since I worked like second shift and into the night. So we could grab breakfast or coffee, and it didn't happen that often. It was maybe once every 2 months. Yeah. Just because he's busy and like people are busy in the industry. And like you were saying, I'm not on his radar.
It's not like I've got to get breakfast with this kid.
Yeah. I'm just a guy who's asking a lot of questions. And like some people like talking about themselves and what they do. Some people do not. I am not one of those people. It doesn't seem like John's one of those people either. No. But he was nice enough to just be open and just like be a nice teacher and kind enough to have time for me. Yeah. So you move in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already here. Me and Xana are already here. So like you were making trips during 2018, crashing on our couch, which we had like a 600 square foot apartment. So like there was really nowhere to go, but
Right.
we had a free place for you.
Yeah.
And it seemed to work out.
And you were kind enough to let me stay. So.
Yeah. How many trips did you make? Do you remember? I don't.
It was like 4.
Okay,
probably.
yeah.
Like four or 5. Because it was every 6 weeks, and we wound up moving in July.
That's a lot of work. Every 6 weeks that's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was because I was like, I don't want this fire to go out.
Yeah.
Because it was also like when I would get done with the session, they would be like, yeah, let me know when you're back in town. And I'll be like, so I learned, I was like, I'll be back these days.
Yeah.
Let's get one.
Yeah, that's good.
We moved. So all of that was happening like December, January, heading into the beginning of 2019. And then we moved to Nashville in June of 2019.
Got it.
So June, either 1st or 3rd, I think.
Okay.
So, and then we meet some people. I get a job at Verizon thinking I'm only going to work there for a few months because I'm about to get a publishing deal because I had no idea how long things take. So I went working there for like 2.5 years, 2 years, and then it was 2.5 years until I signed to Capitol. But it was awful. Yes. It was absolutely terrible.
Yeah. This is not to say Verizon is a bad company.
No, Verizon was great.
Verizon was amazing.
Let's
get it freaking clear.
No, yeah, this is not me. I love Verizon.
Yes,
I'm not throwing any shade at Verizon.
But just for who you were at the time, what you were pursuing, it was in the way of your dream.
Yeah, and it was like, and it also to be fair to Verizon and all the jobs that everyone in Nashville has to get them to their thing, it was in a lot of ways supporting my ability to chase my dream. So for that I'm super thankful. So the idea behind it was I couldn't just work nights and weekends as a songwriter because the people who mattered at the time, as far as for me getting in front of publishers, which was the name of the game for the first 2 years, is just get your name to show up in front of publishers. So the way to do that is to write with people who have to turn in songs to their publishers, which is signed writers. Yeah. And they're not writing on nights and weekends.
No.
So I was like, I need a job that lets me have at least 2 weekdays off. I'll trade in my weekends and have weekdays off where I can write on those days.
Yeah.
So then I didn't have an off day.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, good Lord.
So
and Sierra was finding her way at the time, and like you were working opposite schedules, which that's hard in a committed relationship.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, she was working at the zoo at the time. So she had to be there at like 6. So she left at like 5 and all this stuff. So, but I was working nights. So I wouldn't get home until 9, 10.
Yeah.
And then, because I was also across town, because I was working in a part of town we couldn't afford to live in.
Of course, yeah.
So, and it wasn't even a nice part of town.
No, it was not.
No, it was a sketchy part of town. It was just, but it was the sketchy part of town on the other side of town.
Yeah.
So anyway, I had a long drive, and so I would get home at like 9 or 10, and she's got to be up at 5, so she's already asleep. So, and then we didn't have weekends together or anything. So it was terrible. Like we were great. It was just that we didn't get to see each other. Like there was no problem with us. It was just terrible that we were the only people that we knew other than like yourself, like, and maybe a couple other people, but we didn't have time to hang out with anybody either. You know? So it was like, it was bad.
So 2.5 years after moving here, you sign a deal with Capitol Christian, a publishing deal. When did you meet your connect over there?
Hilariously enough, like a month after moving to town, because I was milking all of my relationships for everything they were worth.
Yeah,
which I stand by. That's good advice for songwriters aspiring. Because I was also I was basically being like, hey, I've been a good steward of the people you've introduced me to. This is what I have going on. You've introduced me to 5 people. I'm still working with all 5 of those people regularly.
Cool. Yeah.
So basically being like, so I'm proving to you that I'm going to utilize what you give me. You give me one, I'll turn it into 100.
Yeah.
So give me more.
Yeah.
So eventually I was like, hey, I have been in town for a month, and I just had publishing meetings with Essential and Fairtrade, but I haven't met anybody over at Capital. Would you be willing to introduce me to the publishing team over at Capital? Because it seems like I have the deepest roots, through you over at Capital and blah, whatever.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so he connected me to somebody. I remember I was literally in Dallas, Fort Worth, leaving the airport. I was in my hotel room at Verizon training when I got the email that from Capital's publishing team. It was like, hey, we want to set up a meeting. And I was like,
that's
losing my mind. Yeah. So that was set up during my first month in town. So at this point, again, I have 3 publishing meetings with Fairtrade, Essential, and Capital within my first 30 days.
That's unbelievable.
Of living in town.
Truly it is.
So again, and that's what everyone is saying. They're like, this is so fast, like, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, I'm about to sign something. This is how it goes,
Of course.
But all I did was hurry to the starting line, unfortunately. So I have this meeting, and at the time it was Lucas, Carrie, and Lindsay on the publishing team. And it was the worst meeting I've ever been in. Like, not because of them.
Of course not.
They were great. They had it dialed. I was more nervous than I've been for anything ever in my life.
Okay.
Like, because I wanted to be at Capital so bad.
Of course.
Like,
Capital.
It's Capital.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I wanted to be at Capital so bad. So like I remember I'm literally like trying. They're like, so what do you like to write? Like what's like a great song? An absolute lob of a thing. And I was like, I love like really like interesting, like different kind of lyrics. Like there's a line in a Sean Curran song, Passion, that says like the surgery is worth it. Get below the surface and open up my eyes. So I was like that line, or like, and then I also said like the Cody Carnes song, like my heart needs a surgeon, my soul found a friend. And so Lucas goes, so surgery lines. And I was so like in my zone of being like, oh, this guy, like I was like, the fire was starting about like talking about the lyrics I'm passionate about. And so when he said that, I was like, it was the most awkward. Oh, it was so awkward.
Man.
It was so awkward. Because I had not even put together that both of them said the word surgery or surgeon.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, oh, those are great lines that are like different outside the box. Kind of like they say something that we're all familiar with and we all know what it is, but it's like really powerful. Anyway, I was just trying to communicate that and use 2 lines that say surgery.
Incredible.
And so it was so awkward. It was so bad. And so I remember after that, I sent a folder of or an email with like 10 songs in it, which is too many.
Way too many.
And so I send
2 to 3 people.
Yes. And I send it to Carrie. Never heard back.
Okay.
So then I sent it to Lindsay.
Okay.
Never heard back.
Got it.
And I was like, they love me.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool. So they don't want to see me ever again.
Yeah.
The
surgery guy.
Yeah, the surgery guy.
Freaking idiot.
Yeah, I know. It was so bad. So it goes on several months. And then, so COVID hits, like 6 months later. Like I think it's like 8 months after we moved to town. So COVID hits. The whole time I'm still like booking sessions with publishers, and Capital set me up in one session during that time, like before COVID. Lindsay pulled me into it, and it was with a writer that they were working with at the time, and it was maybe the worst co-write. It was one of the worst co-writes, like top 3 worst co-writes I've ever been in. So I'm like, I'm already so desperate to be at Capital, and then she like talks really highly about this writer that they're thinking about, who they wound up not signing, but
sure.
And it's like, oh, I think this will be a great combo. Like, I want to get you 2 together. Like, prep some ideas for Mac Brock or something, like a pitch kind of thing, like worship pitch. We go in, I have this thing prepped, and like nothing clicked. Like because our approaches were so different. Like he was trying to say like the most in the box, like have the box and like put a box in the box
Yes.
and in the middle of that box. So it was just those lines. And I was like, that's not going to be impressive enough to where Capitol will want anything to do with me. So I was saying these really interesting lines that could have been trying too hard. Who knows? And he was like, it's not poetry. And I was like, it literally is.
Interesting.
Like, these are like words we said to each other in the right.
Very funny.
And I was just like, I don't think I said it literally is, but I thought it. And because I was like, oh yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Like it's literally poetry with music. But so
let me stop you right there. We're gonna pick that up in a second. We'll take a quick break. Welcome back. Sorry, I had to cut John off early because things were expiring and we needed to change everything. So this terrible, awful session happened with this unnamed person.
Yes. Named and then you bleep.
Yeah. But it was something that Capitol had set up. And you were like, okay, I'm trying to prove myself with the people they give me. Couldn't do it in this one.
It was horrible. Yeah. Horrible. Which was devastating for me. Yeah. So then they don't pull me into anything again.
Of course.
And because for those of you who don't know, too, the way this works, and I knew this going in, is they set it up and then they ask the insider how it went.
Yes.
So I'm like, this guy hates me. So I'm like, this is not what I needed. I needed someone to be like, oh my God, he's amazing. And I'm like, this guy literally told me about the song, like when we were texting about it, I was like, I really like it. I think it's really strong, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, no worship leader would touch this song with a 10-foot pole.
Jeez.
So
it's so wild.
Yeah. So I was like, that was really bad. So then I didn't hear from Lindsay for a while. Verifiably, understandably so.
Sure.
Because if I was in her shoes, I would probably not hurry to rebook. Oh, our thing went away. I'm going to fix it right now during the podcast. If I was in her shoes, I wouldn't have done that either. Yeah. I wouldn't have been like, ooh, let's get him back in, you know. So didn't hear from her for a while. And then COVID hits. And I remember literally, so I had 2 days every week where I was booking because that was all I had.
Yeah.
So I had 8 sessions, and I was doing doubles, a lot of doubles, so that I could meet people and do coffee meetings in the morning. I was meeting like maybe 15 people a week. Like, it was a lot.
Yeah.
So I was doing that. And then I was like, okay, so now I need what I called signed sessions. I was like, I need to stop doing just like treading water sessions. I need every session I can to have someone signed in it. Because I was like, for me, that is getting my name in front of their publisher. Yeah. So if we can write a good enough song that's impressive, that's going to get me points.
Sure.
I was thinking about like filling up a bucket, you know, like you get in front of them, enough songs that they liked, had my name on them, and then eventually they'll be like, hey, let's set him up in some more stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
So I am like networking like crazy, like getting in the room with people for the first time, then getting back in, trying to get artists that I'm like, ooh, this is an up and coming artist who like I think you would be a good fit for, and like use that as bait to have them say yes.
Which is great.
Yeah, trying to bring value and like all good things. So working really hard on that. I remember I had this 1 month stacked. It was so I won't say that yet. I had 11 signed sessions in 1 month, and I only have 8 days off.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I had that, but that's what it was. It was because some of the sessions, both the people were signed.
Oh, okay.
And so I was, as an independent writer, still trying to like forge my way in, which there's no one way in. So that was what was hard. I was like, this could be a game changing month for me, you know, because like all these publishers are going to see my name on this stuff. Like that could really spark something. That month was March 2020.
Amazing. Amazing. Good Lord.
So, and even worse, it was like starting like the middle of March, going to the end of March. Or so going to like the middle of April. So it wasn't like the month of March. It was like straddling the start of April. So it was like literally peak COVID. Like the world was ending. So of course, everything canceled.
Of course.
And so I had like borderline like called in favors to get these sessions on the books. And then they all canceled. And so I was like,
man.
oh, I was ruined. Because then I'm like, okay, now how do I do this network? The one thing that has been going for me, even though it seems like no one likes my songs or whatever at this point, it's like they're fine or whatever, which I wasn't writing hit songs. Like, that's fair. But so coming in, and I'm like, okay, now with COVID, how am I supposed to try and, the one thing that's been working for me is networking.
Yeah.
So if I can't network because of COVID, how am I going to make this thing happen? So, and then working at Verizon during COVID was a whole thing because like then I'm like going into work and then like people are like coming in like sneezing on everything. Like it's like
the general public is detestable.
Yes. So I'm like doing that. So like I'm like, and we're like wearing masks all the time and like Germexing, like hand sanitizer, everything. And like we have like face shields, and like they'll be on the other side of a thing. And then like I would like come home and like Sierra would have like a tied up plastic bag of clothes set outside on the back porch that I would go around, and then I would change in my car and put my work clothes in the bag and like tie them because she's compromised. Yeah. She has rheumatoid arthritis. And so we're like, she can't get it. Yeah. Because we didn't know anything even at that point. And even then, still bad to get it. But like, we're like, oh, that could be like very bad. Yeah. So that was the whole thing. It was so stressful. So stressful. I remember coming home from a write one time that was not a particularly good write. It was a write where I felt like, I was like, ooh, I do not fit in this. Came home, got my oil changed, which is also stressful for me because I just don't understand. Whatever. I'm not a car guy. I don't understand it. I just don't want to. And also, we're so tight on money. So it was, of course. Yeah. So it was especially stressful to be like, am I being taken advantage of at this getting my oil changed? And we can't even really afford to be taken advantage of. So it was like, it was already like I was kind of down on myself going into the oil change. And then the oil change probably added a layer of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing with anything, not even oil, or, and then I get home and I've just had like, now looking back, I know that it was like a buildup of an anxiety attack, but I didn't really know so much at the time. And Sierra's like, hey, would you mind taking the trash out? And I was like, yeah, 1 second. And I walk into the other room and just start bawling. And she was like, she like turns to me, she's like, are you okay? And I was like, no. Oh, and I was just like, I had not had an off day in like 8 months. So
that'll do it.
Yeah. So I just it was just like the worst anxiety attack. And she was great, of course, helped calm me down, got me a glass of water, all the stuff. But I was just like, it was just too much. Yeah. I was like, and things were even going well enough for me at work, but it was just like, I think that was, it was like probably like June, July. So things had started, people would do some sessions again, but it was like about to get bad again because November and all that stuff. So I just came apart. And that was kind of like when I think about that season of like living in the apartment for the first 13 months we were in town, working at Verizon, she was at the zoo, all of that stuff. That moment is what I really think about because like that was just the epitome of what that 13-month period felt like. Yeah. Is it just felt like a really long anxiety attack.
Yeah. Jeez. Okay. So like you're working your way through this grueling period. You move into what is now your house.
Yes.
Maybe a year after you got here.
13 months. Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. So like you're physically moving out of that space.
Yes, thanking God along the way.
But you're still working at Verizon when you get here. Yep. It's a little bit different now because like this still blows my mind. They like created a part-time thing, and you were one of the very first people in the nation that they were trying this out with. Yep. And it ended up like you hardly ever went into work anyway, but they were still paying you.
Yes.
Okay. Pretty awesome.
Okay. So the way that worked is I went part-time, which was like a 32-hour part-time. And I was, I think, maybe the first person in the country. Like the first Verizon part-time employee in sales might have been me. Let's see, we did, so like the stores were open again. So then I was doing my normal shifts and, I'm remembering the order of all this now. Okay, so I'm doing regular shifts and then the stores close again. because of COVID. So then they like send out computers to everybody to like do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I like they basically couldn't get me trained.
That's right.
Like they just couldn't book a training thing.
Yeah.
So that was great. And so yeah, they like scheduled a bunch of them, but then it always fell through for one reason or another. So I was always on call.
Yeah.
So I always had to be like by a computer. I couldn't just be out hanging with friends, whatever. I had to be ready to work at any point. But they were paying me my regular rate plus 100% commission.
That's right. Yeah.
On 32 hours. And I was not working.
It's beautiful.
It was
every person's dream.
It was
or at least mine.
It's every work from home employee now.
I'm kidding. Okay, so you move here, you're doing that, but you're still. How's writing changed for you in COVID?
I definitely having more time let me hit stride in it better. And I was like just booking all sorts of Zoom sessions. So it was like the quality of my sessions definitely decreased, I think, because I wasn't getting, because if people were gonna break the COVID rules, the societal COVID rules to be in the room, it wasn't gonna be to get in the room with me at the time. Yeah. So I was just writing with some people on Zoom, and we were back in Alabama for a lot of time because we were in I guess that was during the, we were down in Alabama a lot while we were still in the apartment and COVID was going on. So once we were here in town, I would have people over here and we would write in the studio. And I don't really remember who all I was working. I remember this well. I was working a lot with an artist that a label had signed. I won't say who, but that a label had signed. I had a bunch of songs. I was, the project was it was going to be my song. It was going to be an EP of like 6 or 7 songs. I mean, my song, and then 6 songs she had written with like some Hillsong folks, which for me at the time was like huge.
Yeah.
It was like just good association. And,
yeah, for sure.
And all of that. So it would have been a huge win. And I was also supposed to have the radio single, which is for a major label, like that would have been a huge deal for me.
Especially in Christian music.
Especially in Christian music. So I was really excited about that. And then they go into recording, do the whole thing. Like I'm like, a lot is riding on this song for me. And then they drop the artist before they ever release anything.
Good God.
So then I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be like my thing that like helped validate what I'm doing. And it just disappeared.
Yeah.
So
when did you get back connected with Lindsay?
I reached out that's a good question. So I reached back out to her beginning of 21.
Okay.
Beginning of 21. And was like, hey, can we just like hang on Zoom? Like, and I think the first time it was just, hey, can we just hang on Zoom once? And she was like, oh yeah, of course. And she was just in her place doing, the work from home thing. And so I kind of just pick her brain for the first session, like first hang, or I was just like, okay, so like, how do you think this works? Or like, what artists are you finding like succeed in this? Or like, just kind of like learning a lot from her.
Yeah.
And then I would do that again, like a month later, and be like, hey, you want to hang? Zoom call. It was like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And she was like, sure. And then eventually I was like, hey, can I send you songs before our thing? And she was like, sure. And then we would meet and I'd be like, so what did you think of the songs? But like, you can tell me like you don't like them. Like I'm fine with whatever. And she would like tell me like, oh, this one I felt like was a little corny. And like, or this one was really good. I like where this is going. And like, well, or I'd send 5 songs. She'd be like, I really like this one.
Yeah.
So without saying it, she's like, I didn't like the other 4.
Yeah.
So she was always navigating that. She was very good at navigating that, where I didn't feel defeated or discouraged or anything at the end of the meetings, but also felt challenged.
Yeah.
I remember I wound up asking her, because I eventually was like, hey, can I send you my favorite songs from the last 6 weeks, every 6 weeks? And then we just meet after and you tell me what's wrong with them and what I can do better and what you like about them and like, just help me. And she was like, yeah, I would love that. And I just made myself really easy to follow. So it would be like 10 songs, which is too many, but It would be like 10 songs, but I wanted her to know the volume of songs I was writing.
Sure.
So I felt like that was important. So I would do like 10 songs and I mean, would like format the heck out of it. Like it would be the titles are bolded and hyperlinked to like the Google Drive thing. And I would show who the writers were, if the writers were signed, where they were signed, and if they were in talks with someone, who they were in talks with.
Yeah.
And all the details. And be like, ooh, so-and-so's A&R really liked this one, or just all the things. And so she could just easy at a glance see all the information that was important about me.
Yeah.
And for the last 6 weeks. So I would send her those. Then she would tell me stuff about them. And eventually in one of those, I was like, hey, so clearly we'd be having different conversations if this wasn't the case. So there is a gap between where I am as a writer and where a songwriter you would offer a deal to is. Can you make me aware of that gap?
Yeah.
And she was very kind and was just like, yeah, I think for Capitol specifically, for a top liner, what our team needs is a level of like uniqueness and idea, where it's like, oh, if we want that kind of idea of a song, we've got to have Gamble.
Sure.
And it was uniqueness in writing, like in the style, and then also it was in idea.
Okay.
So she was like, titles and concept, and like it's got to be interesting but familiar enough, and emotional but also maybe clever, and like it's got to be all those things. Something that our other writers who are maybe producer writers, maybe that's not their strength.
Yeah.
And so that's who we would need in order to best serve our roster. And I was like, okay, cool. Now I have homework.
Yeah.
So then I just tried really hard to get good at idea and concept, and which I think I already had a little bit of a knack for, but then I was like really trying to hone in on that. And then it was June of that year that we got coffee, and she was like, I would be ready to bring you in front of Capitol and
That's awesome.
offer a deal and all that stuff. And then it was like 6 or 7 months of like a very intense vetting process to then sign, because it was also her first signing.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think everyone else at Capitol, maybe I think Lucas Bodo signed Monty. I think everybody else at Capitol was signed by Carrie.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So it's just a long process.
Yeah.
And especially if you're not being signed by the one who's typically signing everybody. So it's like everybody has to verify everything. So.
Yeah. Going back a little bit, I had started as Intricity in July officially. I think they offered to me at like the end of June.
This internship or job? Job.
So I started the internship April of 21. And just to go back even further, in 2020, I met John Mays, who's the VP of Centricity A&R, and helped start the company. And we had a very loose relationship. We had only grabbed coffee once in our first meeting, and then again when he offered me the internship for that summer. So I started that, and you're living here by that time. So like you're excited for me, I'm excited for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the door of a place where my dream can come true.
Yep.
So I did the internship for 2 months. They decided to hire me. And then like 6-7 months later, you get a pub deal at Capitol.
Yep.
So like our dreams are happening in real time. We made it happen.
So insane.
Yeah. So like Lindsay being ready to bring you in to meet the rest of the people, surely you were cool enough by then. You didn't bring up any surgery lines.
No, I was not honing in on all the surgery lyrics.
But obviously they liked you enough to be like, okay, yeah, we're gonna make the moves. And like Capitol is a corporate owned Christian record label. Mm-hmm. So like there's a lot of red tape and moving pieces. Like a yes isn't just like, yeah, let's do it, and then tomorrow it happens. It's like, yeah, let's do it, and then 6 months later it might happen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So like for them to believe in you enough to be like, yes, we're doing it. Doesn't matter how long, doesn't matter how much money, we're doing it. We believe it.
Yeah.
After you signed the deal, did you feel like you arrived?
I'm not going to do a bold answer. I'm going to do a yes and no. Because
Sure.
Because I was going to be like, yes, or no, I didn't. But it definitely was both. Like, definitely, it felt like getting through the preliminaries. You know, it felt like I'm going to state. You know, like it felt like, okay, I won that one. And now, like I made the team.
Yeah.
and now I got to go play ball.
Yeah.
Like, so it was very much it was almost more a relief than anything, because I was like, now I'm not burdened by the weight of potential failure.
Oh my.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, because I was like, I'm going to look so dumb if I move to Nashville, drag Sierra here with me. She was actually excited to come, but still, for the sake of the story. Get to Nashville from my tiny town, dreams and hoping I'm going to make it, thinking I'm going to be the exception, not the rule, because most people don't make it here. Do all of that and then fail.
Yeah.
And in a way that felt like everyone's eyes were on me. So it was like, it was almost just I at least don't have to worry about that now.
Yeah.
I'm today, in day one of my deal, I'm in the red. Because like you get your first like advance check or whatever, which for those of you is not much, but it is enough to make it red. It's a number in the red. So it's like, okay, in theory and in practice, I have a recoupable amount of money against me.
Yes.
So it's like, now I need to write songs that can hopefully recoup money.
Yeah. So for the next few years, you're still doing the thing you had always done. You're getting in sessions with producers and artists, trying to write. Which is
insane that it's the same thing, because it sure doesn't feel like
it. You're trying to write the artist's best song, whatever that looks like.
Yes.
Whatever they need.
Has always been my thing.
You're trying to serve the artist in that way, but also still trying to impress like the A&Rs or the publishers, and you're trying to improve your craft. And you write for years, and there's probably not a lot to show for it from the outside looking in.
Correct.
You learn a lot internally, for sure.
Definitely.
You learn who you work well with on the industry side and artists / other writers. But you finally stumbled on your first number one.
I did.
Pretty recently.
Yes.
Talk us through Counting My Blessings.
So that song, so proud of that song and the way that it has taken on a life of its own and resonated, even though I won't get into the super crazy details of it, but translated into Portuguese and like did a whole thing in Brazil, and like the Portuguese version was the number 4 most viral song in the world for a minute, which is insane.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, ridiculous. 200 million streams in 2 months and crazy things. Crazy. Which I like that it did crazy things, because that makes it very easy for me, for someone who tends to overly logic things that maybe are better approached with faith.
Sure.
It makes it easy for me to go, oh, I believe God was doing something with that. Like that makes that easier for me, instead of like, no, we just cracked the code on something, because again, song math is like my thing. So instead of being like, oh no, we mathed that one real good.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh no, we didn't think about it being translated into another language and then it resonating. Like it was just bigger than what we had hoped for, or what we'd planned for. We had aimed at number 1 at radio. That's what you try and write every day, which you fail most of the time. That's okay. But this is what we had aimed for, and it was so much bigger than a number 1 at American Christian radio.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. But actually wrote the song, and I think I'll tell this part of the story too, because I think it's very true to the songwriter experience. But wrote that song like 3 months after signing at Capitol. So I think a lot of that song is about not having to work at Verizon and like just being like, I literally get to wake up and write songs.
Yeah.
This is insane. It's crazy. Like the season we were both in, with you being at Centricity at that point, it was just like, it worked.
Right?
It was like,
who let us in?
Yeah. It's like two kids from middle of absolute nowhere, Alabama.
Nowhere doesn't know where this is.
No, this is slightly off center of nowhere, not the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Nowhere's the big city we travel to. But no, this was like we both kind of made it in, and it was like, okay, from delivering pizza and selling cell phones to A&R and signed songwriter, it was like, okay, things are going well. So it was like, so for me, Counting My Blessings, I think came out of that place. So the story behind it, I had actually had the title in my phone blessings on blessings. All songwriters, you have like random ideas in your notes and whatever.
Yeah.
Or voice memos. So I had it as blessings on blessings. And I remember I was going to have it be like some clappy, like blessings on blessings on blessings. Like just something cool. Like, maybe cool, arguably not cool, but like more like a up tempo, like CeCe Winans or like a Mav City, like that kind of vibe is kind of what I heard in my head. And then I was like, I just wasn't working with many artists that were doing that and would do it well. It would just be like a knockoff version of the people I was working with were amazing, but it was not going to be that style. So I was like, okay, so I never wound up writing it that way. And then I had some other title. I don't remember what the other one was, but talking about like stories of God doing something. And so I wound up changing the structure. I split that title, Blessings on Blessings, into Stories on Stories and Counting My Blessings. And I had my first session with a guy named Jordan Sapp, who's one of my favorite co-writers now. But at this point in the time, we had never written together. He's already very successful at this point, and I'm the new kid. Mm-hmm. And like kind of the way it goes in like the first year, this is in country, pop, Christian, whatever, is like you kind of are doing the like speed dating with all the writers, especially within your own company in Christian music. And you kind of see where it shakes out on who your collaborators or your regular collaborators are going to be. Yeah. So you kind of have to hope they're not all going to say no, and then you're just kind of stranded. So going to Sapp, I'm like, I have to nail this because he's like a pop-leaning guy. I'm a pop-leaning guy. So it's like our skill sets would make sense together. Lindsay had waited. She was like, I want it to be the perfect opportunity before I just threw it all together. Like I want it to be something that I'm confident is going to go well. And is a big opportunity so that Sapp doesn't associate you with small opportunities.
Sure.
And so she was being really strategic because she's amazing. And so Christine DeClario was working with Capitol at the time. I think she still is, but in a kind of a unique deal. And she lives in, I think, Texas. And so she was making trips here.
Yeah.
So it was a very big, like moderately high profile. Like she has like 1.8 million followers on Instagram or something. Very, very big in the church for the Spanish-speaking community.
Yes.
So she was writing for her next record and what she was going to partner with Capitol. And so they set up this session, which it was like a big ordeal just to get me in this session. So like basically there was a lot of like sticking Lindsay's neck out being like, hey, this is going to go well. Trust me. Here's some of his songs here. Like it was crazy just to even get everybody to be fine with me existing in the room.
Yeah.
So then we get there and I had this like verse and chorus thing prepped that turned into this song that's out now called Stories on Stories that I am immensely proud of. I am so proud of it. I just love that song. And so that was the first song that me and Sapp ever wrote together. And then, so that one is out. And by the time this airs, was at radio probably last year. And it has really resonated in streaming. Mm-hmm. But to this point, at the time of recording, it has not really landed at the radio point. So the point that I'll come back to in a minute, those being starting at the same place as Counting My Blessings. Both songs I'm incredibly proud of. But anyway, both written with Jordan Sapp also. Yeah. So, and written about 3 weeks apart from each other. But so then, like 2 weeks later, Sapp pulls me in on a session with him and a guy named Alexander Pappas, who is from Hillsong and Free, which I was obsessed with. We talked about earlier. So I'm like geeking out. I write this chorus on the way there called Everest, another song I'm immensely proud of. So I come in and show the song. Everybody's really excited. We write the song. It's great. That song has not come out to this point.
I didn't realize that.
It's not out.
It's a great song.
I know. I love that song. It's unreleased. I don't even know any artists. But so yeah, it has not come out because it was like right at the tail end of that record, and it just didn't get finished up in time for the deadline. And then for the next thing, now it's so old. There's a big recency bias thing,
Of course.
It's like because he has discovered a new sound. So I'm not throwing stones at Alex. He's great, but I think that song will find a home someday. Mm. But so we did that song, and that kind of helped solidify me and Sapp's working relationship.
Sure.
Creative working relationship. And then about 2 weeks later, probably, we had a session with Seth Schleter. who is the artist on Count My Blessings. And so I remember that morning I had texted. So also with the second session, when we wrote Everest, Sap was like, when I played the chorus, Sap looked over at Pap, who was like grinning ear to ear because he loved the chorus, which is a good feeling. And Sap was like, see, I told you. And I was like, what? And he was like, I told you like always come in with like a hit chorus already.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to do this every time now. Because I was like, yeah, I've done it twice. Where it's like, it's a chorus that everybody gets excited about. So I was like, I need to keep delivering on this. So that is kind of like my thing. Is like I prep really hard and try and have something really inspiring to be a springboard at least. But I can't do that every time. But when I can, I try and do that. So then I'm texting with John Sell, who is Seph's manager, to come full circle.
Yes.
I had actually already met Seph and written with him one time at this point because of Sell. And so I'm like, hey, what do you guys need for Seph? Like, what's kind of missing on the project? And he was like, mid-tempo heart radio smash. And I jokingly, I was like, you got it. And then I was like getting ready in the morning. So I literally I'm like, you got it, huh? And toss my phone on the bed and like go get in the shower. And I literally just sing the chorus of, I guess I didn't toss my phone on the bed because what I was saying in a second, but I sing the chorus top down. I maybe like ironed it out for like 3 minutes standing there, but sing the chorus top down and grab my phone and I'm in the shower's running and I like voice memo the chorus. And I was just feeling really thankful. And again, what we were talking about, just like how good I felt like God had been to me and the season that I was in now, again, a year and a half before having an anxiety attack about taking the trash out. And then now getting ready to go write with a very successful producer who I've now established a good working relationship with and working with the guy who got me into town, who's now managing an art. Like, it was just like, and standing in this house that's like not the apartment that we were in. And like, all those things, I was just feeling really thankful. And then get there and show them the chorus. And Seth got super excited. He actually ran a lap around Sep's studio, which was incredible. And then he had the brilliant idea. He's like, what if we like not made it cheesy, but like literally counted in the pre-chorus? It was like 1, 2, 3. And I was like, that's so cool. And so the whole pre-chorus was Seth's idea. And then Sap, it was actually, I don't remember what the old verse melody was for the song, but it was boring. Like it was like, da, 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 da. Like it was a version of the same thing, but it was like not the, it's like it was yesterday. Like the rhythm wasn't interesting.
Yeah.
And then Sap was like, what if you just did it quicker? Like, da, 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 da. And so like it was really truly one of the songs where it's like, okay, everybody very evenly had a strong hand in what the song became, which is always a good feeling. And then there was a bridge to the song that I brought that Seth loved and I loved too, that we cut, we removed from the song because it was something to the effect of like, before I ask you for tomorrow, I'll thank you for today. No, before I ask you for the future, I'll look to the past. Something. I'll be counting my blessings till the day you come back. Like it was just like a big, like penultimate, like big kind of anthemic moment. But it was just like a lot of words.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
And so Sap was like, it's beautiful. We can't do it.
That's good.
He's like, I think we just need to like, I can't count that high.
Yeah.
I can't count that high. But it was just like, because Seth had done that as like a post-chorus idea earlier, which is actually fun enough. Melodic math stuff. It's like foreshadowed by the pre-chorus. 1, 2, 3. It's like, can't count that high.
Yeah.
So anyway, so did that. And so we literally, Seth was like, let's just have a little funeral for the bridge.
That's great.
And we like paused for like 10 seconds. And we're like, okay.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it's just kind of funny that now I have the bridge on my phone too. And it's like, oh, people don't know.
That's
it's
so
kind
cool.
of fun. But so we did that again, like 2 or 3 months after I signed. So this was 2022.
Okay.
In like end of February, early March, probably.
Okay.
And it didn't come out until June of 2023.
Yeah.
Then went to radio in October.
Yeah.
And then went viral in November. and then went #1 in March.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So crazy. Once again, does it feel like you've arrived?
Yes and no. Because in a different way, because there is no arriving in this job, unfortunately. and fortunately.
You have to show up every day, but there is no arriving.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
But no, it's like there's not a there's a timer going
Yeah,
on.
it's okay.
There's not a sense of like, oh, I need to go accomplish this thing. Like, I think there's a little infusement of anxiety in the beginning, like when I signed. It was so much joy, of course, but there was still a little bit of the like, got to perform.
Sure.
Whereas now, and we've talked about this before off camera, I feel like the success of Counting My Blessings has let me go, oh, I can just write things I like.
Yeah.
I can just write things that I genuinely think are awesome and really connect to, because I just genuinely connect to that song a lot. Like I have sang, and I said this on my post on Instagram about it, but like I have sang that song like at the beach watching a sunrise, thinking about how good God has been. I'm going to get emotional saying it right now. I have sang that song like holding Sierra. I have sang that song thinking about my daughter on the way. You know, like just being like, man, I am so blessed. I'm so fortunate. And so it has just really freed me from the like, ooh, I've got to write something that I'm like, ooh, they're going to love this.
Yeah.
And I just be like, oh, until I love it, it's not done.
That's good. On that note, we are done for this section. We'll be back. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for sticking with us this long. John, how are you doing so far?
Feeling great.
Feeling great? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're finally ready to jump into the questions.
Okay.
This should be interesting. Question 1. Do you remember when we first met and what you thought about me?
God, that was so long ago.
I know.
When we first met, see, I am bad at specific memories like that.
Me too.
I'm trying to think. Because I know the context in which we met. I'm trying to think of like when we first met. No, I remember it was 6th grade basketball. I remember vaguely being like, hey, he's tall. We'll be good.
Was I tall? Yeah, I was tall.
Yeah, like tall, lanky, like, I'm like, hey, that'll be good for the team.
Yeah.
And then, see, I don't even really remember how we started hanging out.
I don't either.
Because, I mean, it would have been basketball. It would have been because
yes.
we were on the team.
Definitely that.
And I remember you were backing down my brother and knocked him over Aaron. I mean, he didn't get out of the way. And he went to like prop himself up and fractured his arm.
It's funny because I still have no recollection of that. And y'all have come to me like, you don't remember that? I'm like, no, I'm so sorry. I had no idea.
Well, because my brother probably didn't. Like, knowing my brother, he probably like heard it and was like, ooh. You know, and then like went home. Like it's probably the end of practice or something. And then never mentioned, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like what he's going to come back and be like, you broke my arm. You know?
That's a good point.
You know? So
yeah, I don't remember how we started hanging out either, but I know it was from a bond of basketball for sure. We both loved the NBA. You were a Steve Nash fan. I was a Jason Kidd fan.
yes.
So we had that going. But yeah, like our friendship started through basketball, and it was forged through the pain and endurance of summer workouts.
Oh, you're right.
Like we had been friends, and like I think we were already writing together. But for me, at least, sharing that grueling pain with someone who knew exactly how I felt was a bond that turned unbreakable.
And yes, agreed. And also for the listeners, and I'm sure you remember this, we would do workouts that were named after women.
Yes, this was a CrossFit thing.
It seems so inappropriate. Like, because like the coach would come in and be like, "We're doing Becky today."
Oh, jeez.
And I'm just and all the guys, "Ah."
Yeah.
And it's just like, this is unsavory.
Needless to say, we were not really meant to be sports people, at least not for long.
You're right. Yeah, that's fair. See, I'm a big sports guy now, though. It's just soccer, which is like the sport that's not a sport here.
No, yeah. And I love football, but like, yeah, we weren't meant to play it.
No, right. Yeah, that's fair. No, I was never meant. I was always weak AF. Like strength has like I have enough endurance. Like I like to run and that kind of like cardio fitness and stuff every now and then. But like I was never the like putting up numbers like on the bench or like squat, or I was never that guy. I wanted to be for a little bit, and then I was like, I'm just going to accept that I'm never going to be that guy.
Yeah. Do you have any positive middle school basketball team memories? Because I know you have some negative ones for sure.
Oh, certainly. Positive ones. You know, I actually have never thought about this.
No.
Did I hate it the whole time?
Did you? I don't know. I liked hanging out. And I liked basketball. But like I didn't care to be playing and practicing.
No, you're right. Because I was like, because I actually, you know what I hated? The games.
Yeah, the games.
Because I always played so badly.
Yeah, did I.
Because you're under so much scrutiny, and it's so like you're not just like loose having fun and like whatever. It's like you're running a strict play that's probably not even drawn up that well. Or like that there's some person who's gonna like cut it off in the middle and just do their thing. And it's like, but if you do that, you get yelled at. But if someone else does that and they score, then they're praised. So it's like I never enjoyed the games.
Yeah.
Because of that. And practice was awful.
No, it sucked. Yeah,
awful because of the conditioning.
Yes.
I might have hated it the whole time. I don't know. Like I loved basketball.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I think I was more proud to be on the team. I'm literally processing this right now.
I think I'm with you.
Like I think I was more proud to be that I made it because it was like an honor.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Because I love playing, but not in that context.
Yeah, and when you're at that age, you're looking for anything to be like your status symbol, like
your thing.
You're trying to be
your
cool.
identity, your collective cool identity.
Yeah, like that's
which
all.
I was only ever cool by association, and everyone knew I didn't belong.
But hey, that counts. That does count for something.
Mm-hmm.
Geez, what a realization. Okay, let's move on to question 2. How about that? How do you feel about our relationship now?
How do I feel about it? I mean, I can't think of a specifically great adjective or adverb, but I'll say a few things.
Go for it.
Secure and confident. I feel just, I mean, great, but in the sense of like, there's a difference when you've been friends this long. It's like, oh, this is just a mainstay of my life now. You know what I'm saying? Like this is just like if my life is a house, our friendship is more architecture than furniture. You know what I'm saying? Like it's more, it's integral to the thing. Like it's gonna be around. It's gonna be that way, as opposed to like things that'll change out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which I know is the most annoyingly pretentious and songwritery way to say that.
No, I've never heard that. So that's nice. I appreciate that. Can you think of any times that our friendship has been tested? And I'll answer the question as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Thought about it. I think at least my answer for that would be like when I left. Like it's when you have a long distance relationship of any kind.
Totally,
things change
for sure.
And luckily, we're guys, and guys potentially like typically, they don't need to talk every day to be best friends.
No, totally.
But like we always knew we had each other.
Yes, I agree with that. I would say 2 times other than that time, because I think that time counts.
Sure.
But that's more of a making sure the fire doesn't go out as opposed to
Absolutely.
like a rub
Yeah.
or anything like that. Because we've never really had like that level of. But I was a bad roommate
No,
in
you
college.
were dreadful.
I was awful.
Horrendous. Please tell the people some of the horrendous things you
Like
did.
I specifically, I just remember, I mean, almost never do my dishes. And so they would just sit, and you weren't going to do them either. So they would just sit in the sink and get moldy and gross. And it was awful. Because and contrary to what it would sound like, oh, his mom always did everything for him, so he's blah, blah, blah. Actually, I had always done dishes at home, and so now I was like, no, I don't have to.
No, yeah.
So I was like, now no one can make me, and it made me a horrible roommate.
No, wait, was it you or Parker that put dish soap in the dishwasher?
No, that was Parker.
Okay, that's what I thought.
was Parker.
That's what I thought. That was stupid.
And then there's the candle story.
No, bro. Okay, yes.
We have to tell at least
Yes, Parker Jones, our best friend growing up. When we started going to college, we moved into a house together. It was me, John, Parker, and this other guy, Adam Smith, for at least the first year.
Yeah.
And of course, you're living in a space with people you haven't lived with before. Everyone has their idiosyncrasies.
You're gonna get stuff.
You're gonna get stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One of Parker's things was every time we lit a candle, like so, and he blew it out, he would go and dump out the loose wax from the flame. Mm-hmm. And John and I saw this. We were like, hey, "Whoa, dude! What are you doing?" And he was like, I'm dumping the water out. Y'all don't do this?" And we were like, "Are you serious?" I thought he was absolutely joking. And he was like, "No, I'm not joking. I do this every time." So that was a classic, oh yeah, you're a guy who grew up around guys, and no one said anything to you about this, I guess.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Good Lord. Yeah, that was a moment.
So that's actually not even the candle thing I was referring to.
What were you thinking about?
Because that is hilarious. I don't remember seeing him. I remember it as his girlfriend at the time saying that she heard him say oh yeah, and I pour the water out.
No, I saw it.
Okay, you saw it.
I saw
it.
I
don't know that maybe I did, and I just remember it wrong. But
holy moly!
But I don't remember seeing it. I remember us unrelentingly.
Oh yeah,
not letting you live that down.
He deserved it.
Yes. I also remember on our senior trip to the beach, he tried to dry his socks in the microwave.
I cannot believe I forgot that. Yeah. We were on our way out. And he was like, "Yeah, let's just pop these in." I'm like, "Wait, what? This obviously wouldn't work. If you put it in the oven, maybe. The microwave, what the hell are you thinking?" God, it was dreadful. Oh, man.
So there was that.
Yes.
But no, the candle thing I'm talking about is when he comes home and he's like, "Hey, can y'all each give me $17? And then we're like,
"I don't remember this."
We're like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, I got these candles."
For the house, I guess.
Yes. And so he had bought 3 mahogany teakwood candles and just assumed that we were all going to pay him back because he got them at Walmart.
Hilarious.
And he's like, "Well, they're for the house, so they're for all of us. So can y'all just pay me for?" And we were like,
"Nah, bro."
And so we were like, "Take those back."
That's so funny. I don't remember that at all.
Because I remember it was specifically me and Adam were on him. We were like, because we would then just be like, "Hey, if I bought this car, would y'all pay me?" We would just find random stuff and be like, "Hey, can y'all pay me back? If you cut this in 4." Or yeah, that's what it was. We'd be like, "Oh, if we all went in on it, we could get and then we'd say something ridiculous."
So good. So stuff like that. We're just you don't know until you experience it, and you get out of your childhood home and live with other people. Yeah. So yes, there were some things that you as a roommate were not doing.
I was, yeah.
And the rest of us were suffering.
Yes, I was bad. Specifically, I feel like it was the worst when, wasn't there a point where it was the 2 of us? Yeah, I feel like that was when I was at my worst. When it was the 2 of us.
Maybe you were, but I think I was just used to it by that point.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. So that was one time. What other time were you?
The other time, there was a time in, maybe, I think it was 7th grade.
Oh, fuck. All right.
No, it was like the year. So Parker and I had been really close since 5th grade because we were in the same class that year. He moved from Donahoe. And then we were all in the same class, I think, in 6th grade. So that's how it, because, we rotated, but we all had the same classes and whatever, so we rotated together. And then in 7th grade, there were 4 teachers, but there were 2, and they would switch back and forth. And you and Parker were in the same thing, and I was not. And so I was,
and that's everything. Like whatever class you're in, that's all you have.
So like we didn't have anything together. We would like play basketball. So I'd see you at like practices and stuff, and then like Parker lived close, so we would hang.
Yeah.
But I would always be like, there they are. They're so close. And y'all were going to the same church at that point too. So I was like, felt a little like boxed out, not by you guys, but by the system of like, oh, they get to hang out all the time and like they're going to get so close. They don't need me.
It's that meme of Squidward looking out the window.
Yes, absolutely. So that was like 7th grade.
Got it. Yeah, I didn't realize that's when that was because like, Parker and I did get very close early on. And then even like in high school, like we started Bible studies together, which you were part of one of the ones we started.
Yes.
We started another one after that, and we're doing that together. And this was very important back then, not nearly as important now, but like you were going to a Baptist church, we were going to a Pentecostal church.
Totally.
Those belief systems aren't the same. Didn't stop us from being friends.
No.
But yeah, it was just like, that was the crew Parker and I were running in.
Right.
You were doing your thing already, like leading the youth worship stuff.
Right.
So you were busy all the time.
Totally, I was,
So yeah, it was just different for a season.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, it was really, for me, it was just the 7th grade thing where I was like, I wish I could hang. And then I think 8th grade, we were all back on the same thing again.
Yeah.
Because maybe 8th grade is when it switched to where you can have, like we all had separate classes instead of like blocks where we all rotated or something.
Maybe. Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, that was maybe the only other time where our like friendship was threatened.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'd say there was a time where our friendship was strengthened. Definitely last year for me going through my divorce. And you were the first person I told like a day after it happened, I think. And obviously this was a dire situation.
It was, yeah.
You had some sort of writer's round thing. I think it was a 40-40 thing where you were like the headlining writer. So you were coming into Franklin. I work in Franklin. So like you were coming down that way anyway.
Yep.
So it was like, hey, before you can do that, can we stop off and just talk? I gotta tell you something. And you were kind enough to just like walk with me. I handed you my phone to read something that my ex had sent to me explaining a lot of things. And we just talked for maybe 30 minutes before you had to go on and do your thing. And I don't know what the hell I said at the time, but I remember you being very like kind, understanding, and not being like definitive about anything, which was very helpful for me. Not because like it's not like you know what the hell to do.
It was also my first time trying to help anybody through that too.
Yeah. But it was difficult for me because like you knew Xana almost as well as I did. We all went to high school together. Like you and Sierra and me and Xana went to high school together, have known each other almost forever.
Yeah.
So like you seeing that and reading that news from someone that you had known and loved and like thought you knew, oh, I'm speaking for you now.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure it must have been shocking.
Right.
And trying to give advice or be a good listener in that moment. I don't know what was going through your head, but I thought you did a great job.
Well, thank you. I honestly have often wondered if I said the right things or
I don't know what you said.
Had the right
feeling
energy.
is you did a great job.
Good. That's honestly great to hear. Because that's such a vulnerable moment that I was not prepared for, like vulnerable for you. And I'm like, okay, so I don't want to say, it's the time where if you say something wrong, you'd never forget it.
Oh, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I was like, okay, if I say something that's like out of line here, it's like, it goes to the grave with us. Like it will not be forgotten.
Yeah.
So trying to tread very carefully, but also like say something of substance too, where I'm not saying nothing because the reason you wanted to talk is, I mean, yes, to just express it and get it out, but also probably you wanted some sort of sounding board of something, you know?
Yeah.
So like trying to figure that out, and I was trying to think like what I would want you to say to me if I was going through that, you know, and it was not a place for me to make definitive statements. Like because I've always said this, we've had conversations about it since then where I'm like, I was not a part of y'all's relationship.
Sure.
So like, so for me to come in and make truth statements about something that I'm not a part of would be silly. Because I'm like, I don't know what the dynamic was or what the communication was like or what the, like if it, because at that point you're looking at like, is this worth fighting for, keeping? Is this worth salvaging, rebuilding? Is this, or would that be a lot of work just to have the anxious thought in the back of my mind of if it would be torn down again, the trust that I built? Or it's just like you're weighing those things, which are huge life decisions. So I'm like, I'm not trying to come in and, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to come in and.
That's what you need to do.
I think, Evan. No. But no, it is actually good hearing you say that I at least filled the role of a comforting vibe, because that's really what I was going for.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like you needed at the time.
Yeah. I also love, like, and I said this a bit earlier, that we've both come from the same town. We're in music now. Like, we're walking in perpendicular lanes in our dream, but like we've always had each other to complain to. Yes. Whenever something goes wrong, and something always goes wrong. But in those years of striving, trying to arrive at the thing that we thought was just a dream, the thing that we had let go for so many different reasons, but God, the universe, ourselves, whatever, we got there. It's just great to have someone to do that with, even though it's not exactly the same thing. But
yeah, it's honestly, I think in some ways it's better that it's not the exact same thing.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because then it's not like there's no comparative thing with it. It's just like supportive and like, oh, like
totally.
And there's no like, hey, we should just write together more, or like or like the tension of like, we should write together less. You know, like there's none of that. It's just like, oh, I want to figure out, I want you to win first and foremost, and then second of all that, I want to figure out how I can be a part of that, because that would be fun.
Totally.
And just being there, like you said, like for the complaining, have someone who gets it, who like just knows the terminology and knows what a publishing company is, and knows, like when I say like, oh, like so-and-so got they got an offer and they're already in long form, and I don't even have blah, blah, blah. And I have a thing with this many streams, and theirs was only, or like I have it with this caliber artist, and theirs is with, and so it's somebody who's like, oh yeah, all that's true, and that sucks. Yeah. As opposed to like, oh, I don't know what any of that means, like, but that sounds bad. You know, just having someone to accurately bear witness to your suffering is sometimes nice.
Amen.
and the joys of it too, I will say.
Yes,
like,
of course.
Because there's something sweeter about saying like, hey, I got this radio single. Like talking to you who understands how, like that doesn't mean, oh, you wrote a good song and they picked it for the radio single. It means you probably wrote 10 for the record, and they wrote a total of 100, and then somehow you got some that were selected for the album, and then of those you were selected to go to radio.
And then all the radio people out there decided they liked it enough to keep playing it.
Right.
Yeah. So many miracles go into it.
Yes. So like that is a special kind of celebration too, and it's like, oh, I understand how statistically impossible that is. Like for you getting a job in A&R when there are literally maybe 10 maybe 10 positions for Christian A&R, period, in the world basically. And you have one of them.
I do.
Like that is bonkers. So to know, like, I imagine me knowing how insane that is cooler than when you tell somebody and they're like, cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. For sure. Okay. Question number 3. How can I be a better friend to you?
That sounds pretty sad.
Doesn't have to be.
The only thing I would say is not better friend, but more. Just be around more. Because anytime that we are around, it's like 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. So it's just, and we've talked about even this year trying to spend more time together and hang out and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I would just say nothing to change. It's just let's hang out more. Because I think too, it's like we used to live 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Well, of course, we were roommates in college and then lived 5 minutes from each other when you were here. But now with you down in the Franklin area, and us up here, it's a little harder, a little less convenient. It's not like a spur of the moment, like, hey, what are you doing later? Yeah. It's got to be like, we should like plan it, like do things. But I would say that's the only thing. Like, there's not a oh, you do this more or anything like that on my end. How could I be a better friend to you?
That's a tough question.
I think it's your fault. I just said ditto.
I definitely agree with the more. I made like a 2024 bingo card, and on it was to hang with you more, and I showed you that.
Yep.
And I think we've done a good job this year.
I think so too.
More is always great, and of course, with the baby on the way, like we're gonna have to be
more
very deliberate and intentional.
Deliberate is a good word.
Which is completely okay. Like, I don't have a baby,
right? Yeah,
I can do that.
Yes. And babies can hang.
Yeah. Other than the more aspect, I'm not really sure. I feel like in the history of our friendship, we've kind of gone through a lot, like shared a lot of stuff personally, gone through a lot of change spiritually, physically, being in different places. But like, you still just feel solid. Like, there are very few people that I don't have to be on with.
I feel you. Yes.
Yeah. I feel like I'm more than off with you and Sierra. Like, there is no expectation of anything at all whatsoever. Because like, y'all have seen everything.
Right.
Like, I don't have to front. So yeah, you're right. It's hard to answer. I don't know.
Yeah. I think just the more is the our friendship pie. Just increasing it,
Okay, that was the first 3 questions. We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be back. Welcome back. We got through the first 3 questions in a timely manner. Thank God. This is going to be our longest show yet. And I was hoping that it would be. Because, like, how could I not have the longest episode be with my oldest friend? Jeez.
It is poetic.
Yes. Question 4. What matters most to you right now?
That's a big question. We'll take the whole 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going to really think about this.
Go for it. I need to think too, because I try not to think of the answers to these questions before I get into an episode, just so it's off the dome, like my guess would be.
Right.
But maybe that's not a good idea.
It is a tough question. Okay, my answer for now is going to be health.
Okay.
In this regard. So health in all aspects. So like trying to live a long time for sure. I love this life more than I ever have. So I'm trying to extend it where I can.
Yeah.
I would like to retire when we're like 50 and then move to Spain. And I want to spend more years in Spain than America.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we all saw the debate. Well, by the time this comes out, it's, by the time this comes out, the country's probably on fire.
It'll be next December.
Yeah, so the country's on fire.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, oh no. I don't like the president, whoever it is.
It could be you.
It could be me.
Screw that guy.
No, whoever it is, I don't like him. But no, health in the sense that, of course, health is important for me. Thinking about Rory, our daughter, I want her to be healthy.
Yeah.
And so far everything's good. So that's great. But even thinking about, I now will have more to live for. Like, I've always had something to live for. I don't mean that to sound so dire, but like, I have more reason to live longer, because like the longer I live, the more of her I get.
That's good. Yeah.
You know, so very much that sense of health, but also like healthy balance, like healthy work life balance, healthy relationships, healthy, like, and part of, I think, what comes with like being healthy is like doing some of the hard work of stuff, like communicating if something, like in a friendship, if something upsets you, like saying it. Like, so I'm trying to be better about, like, if I'm bothered by something, being like, hey, it made me feel this way when this thing happened, or
Yeah.
to keep, for the sake of the relationship, to keep it healthy. And I also think I'm doing like this intuitive eating thing right now we talked about, which has been really cool. I didn't realize how much food stigma I had, like, in my brain. And then I was like, now that Sierra kind of has walked me through and I've read this book and all this stuff, and it's like, oh yeah, I had all sorts of stigma around all of it. And so like, it's been helpful just being like, oh, can just like listen to my body. So like, if I usually eat breakfast at 6 a.m. every day, which I do, I cook an egg and a thing of sausage and have blueberries with it, and it's fantastic. But if I wake up and I'm not hungry, I don't cook breakfast.
Yeah, sure.
Which sounds super simple, but I think before I would be like super routine. I'm a very routine-oriented person. So I would do that. It's like the intuitive eating thing has been really helpful. But even just health in, like, I think I'm just seeing where I'm reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck right now.
Sure.
And there's a lot in there about like Buddhist principles and existentialist principles, and what's the other one? Buddhist, existentialist, and another one.
Sure.
And it's just a lot of stuff about, because from my understanding, I religiously don't connect to anything of like the Buddhist, and I think existentialism is just a philosophy. So like, but philosophically, I like what they're getting at in the like simplistic, like,
yeah, okay.
There's he references a lot this book called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and in that book, he says, in a lot more words than this, I've kind of simplified it to this, is the pursuit of joy is the thief of it.
Interesting.
Or happiness, not joy, but the pursuit of happiness is the thief of it. And I just think it's so true. Like, the more you try and become more happy, the less happy you are. Like, that's true for me. The more I focus on how happy I can be in the future, the less happy I am now. So like, I just have to focus on, like, there's this like Japanese expression that basically means like, the only real thing is the present. And it's like trying to remind myself, like, there is right now, for me, there is nothing real but this conversation with you in this room and these cameras recording this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a song I need to be working on. There's not a session that could happen tomorrow or Monday. We're going to Hawaii, and I'm very excited about that. But like, I'm not there right now. That's not real right now. It will be next week, but right now it's not. So like, why try and be next week's happy now? You know, just like,
it's good.
I know it's been a game changer for me. And I think that's part of like being healthy, is like having all these things where I'm like present, because I think the healthiest version of me is present. And that's the version of me that I want to be for my daughter.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Thank you.
And I have something very similar. I think it's just, I can only worry about today.
Yeah.
Literally thinking this week is like, I have an artist who has a deadline for a song in a couple weeks. And about a month ago, I started to try to get the ball rolling with a producer. That one producer couldn't do it. Trying to find another one, he couldn't do it. Found one. The artist wanted to use someone else, so I reached out to the person that they wanted to work with. They said they're in, but like, they are not available till next week, and the artist isn't even going to be back in town to record a week after that. So I'm like, there's so much going on. There's no way we're going to make it. And I was just like, you know what? I'm doing all that I can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to worry about today.
Yep.
I'm sure this is gonna be a hassle in the future too.
Yep.
Let me just not even think about that.
Yep.
I have today. I will do what I can today, and that is all.
Yeah. Yes. I think that. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were saying, I think the world would benefit from some short-sightedness.
Yeah.
Because we're all looking into the future so much. We gotta quit.
What's out there in the future?
Okay, let me really try and. That's a very deep question. I'm trying to
Sure.
get an answer that justifies the depth of that question. I think this is not an answer directly to that question, but I think why we look at the future so much is because we tell ourselves that we're trying to use the future to inform the present. But I actually think we're using the future to subsidize the present. Like we're trying to be like, oh, I'm not happy enough now. So I'm going to think about a possible future where I am to hijack some of that happiness and feel it before it's here. But then we kind of get used to using those muscles of feeling things prematurely. And I'm saying it's real. I do this. So,
sure.
But so then you feel it prematurely. So then you're so used to doing that when you get to the thing that you were excited about getting to, now you're so used to looking to the future to feel your happiness that you're doing it again.
Sure.
So, and there's always going to be more. And also the thing is never going to live up to the potential of what it could have been. So you're always going to exist. And the potential future is always going to be better than the real now,
Yeah. That's a very good answer for a very deep question.
I tried.
Okay, question 5. What are you holding on to that's holding you back?
I would say comparison right now. And that's something, because I've done so much work, in the past couple of years of just like figuring out who I am. My personality type is very chameleon into a room, which serves me well, that skill set as a songwriter. But so I had to do a lot of work being like, okay, who am I? Like, where are my boundaries? Where are my borders of like where I exist?
Yeah.
And I think comparison is still holding me back. And that's something I'm holding on to from like the last season of my life, where it's like, I can let go of that. And I'm working on trying to let it go. But I still, like, the only thing that can take the joy from the fact that I get to wake up every day in a house that I love, that I own, next to a wife that I love, and get to go do what I love and write songs and somehow, hopefully at some point, make money doing it. Like, the only thing that can take the joy away from that is looking at the other people who are also doing that and saying, oh no, they're doing it better. Or like, oh, hey, they're doing the same thing as me. Why do they get to blah, 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 blah?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm in a dream. I'm living my dream. I don't have to compare my dream to theirs.
Yeah.
Like, I'm already living it. And so I think I need to let go of in order for my dream to feel validated, it has to be the best version of it.
Man, that's a great answer.
Thank you. What about you?
For this month, it's interesting. I think it's the idea of willpower in my life. I've just started this like different diet routine with a friend of mine, and I have never had success with such a thing. I haven't tried that often either. Like, I'm not a big fan of diets, so I'm not prescribing anything to anyone. But I tried it because he was doing it, and I wanted to show support and be like, dude, I'll do it with you. And it has not been long at all. But still, I feel like this is the most successful I've ever been at something like this mentally.
Oh, yeah.
And that's always been the biggest hurdle for me. Because like on paper, I could do it or anything. But mentally, having the feeling, the shift, like, oh yeah, I can do this. It's easy. I just have to say no to some things.
Yeah.
And realizing that in the sphere of the diet and the relationship with that, I've thought about over the past year of just like, there've been so many things that I've been like afraid to do because like I don't like doing things by myself, but I've been forced to, and I've had the willpower every time to make that happen. And I just haven't given myself credit for that. But like sitting down and realizing like, you fucking did that shit.
Oh yeah, bro. Yeah.
Is huge. And like I've always said that my willpower is very, very low. When like maybe I just need practice. If it is low, or maybe it's not low at all. But like feeding into it, recognizing it, praising myself when I see that I've done something that was previously difficult because I was in the way and now I'm doing it. Like that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Agreed. And I think that can be perpetuated by like confirmation bias too, because you end up in like the cycle of it. Like you're like, oh no, I can't, like I don't have the willpower to make that happen. So then you use that as the reason to not do it.
Absolutely.
And so then that becomes more confirmation when you look back in the future and be like, no, see, I have all this evidence of that I don't have the willpower to do something like that.
Yeah. And it just takes repetition. It takes practice. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that, I mean, I think your character that has always been there has just like grown and blossomed in the last year and a half, I think. Like you haven't changed.
Sure.
It's just that you are more accurately yourself these days, I think.
Interesting. I'll take that. Okay.
I just think I think you yourself have discovered things about yourself that have always been true, but I think you finally convinced yourself of them.
That's good. We're going to move on. Question 6. We're rolling through these. When was the last time you made yourself proud?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Last time I made myself proud.
Is this a rarity for you?
No, it's very often. This is what I'm trying to think of the most recent ones.
Sure.
I would say maybe yesterday with writing the song. You know, I was vulnerable in sharing some stuff that is not even actually personal, but a friend was experiencing and how my lens of that, and you know, sharing, being vulnerable is always vulnerable.
Sure.
You know, so it's always a little difficult and it feels a little out of place and you feel a little bit like you're being a burden. Like, you know, so, but our writer's room, it runs on vulnerability a lot of times. So I'm trying to kill songs that we're writing because we think we're supposed to.
Sure.
Like, I'm trying to be like, let's do something else. I'm trying to do that more. Because all the songs that do well on the chart and I also really like are songs where I'm like, that came from something, from somewhere. And I've talked to people and it did. And for me, my favorite songs are the ones that came from something. So I'm proud of the song. I think it's a great song that we wrote yesterday. But I'm also just proud of myself for being willing to be vulnerable in a session. And like, I think it is a difficult thing in my job to both be vulnerable and like write something emotionally important and also hold a high bar of technicality on parallelisms and multiple syllable rhymes and extra syllables or getting rid of them and being very intentional. So like, because it's easy to either go all the way into emotion and it's just, it just feels right.
Yeah.
And some people are amazing at that. I am not one of those people. Or it's really easy to go into an overly mathed out song that you only thought about that and sacrificed meaning in order to make those things happen. But it's really hard at least I found, to be vulnerable and have something worth saying and keep the natural phrasing and keep all these things that are worth saying, where it's like, if there's a line, you're like, oh, it matches the rhyme exactly, but it doesn't make me feel what I would feel if I was saying that to this person or praying that or whatever. So trying to equally do both is very hard. And it's also just a hard line to even like be bold enough to try and walk sometimes in a room. So I was proud of myself for sticking my neck out and trying to do that. And we succeeded, I think.
Good.
Which is cool.
When did you start feeling regularly proud of yourself?
Damn, bro. When did I start feeling regularly proud of myself? As a kid. I think I always have. I think that is one of the things that like, I think a lot of people would use the word driven to describe me. And I think that is one of those things that has made me be that way, is the self reward of accomplishing something. Because like, and I've been in seasons for sure where you accomplish something, you do something really good, and you just don't let yourself feel proud of it.
Yeah.
But I think my parents did a lot to instill independence in me, and from independence, like when I accomplish something, I feel great about it. Like, so and especially in these days more too, this is the healthy way to go about it, is not just things that I can't control. So like, I'm not proud of myself for yesterday because we wrote a great song. I'm proud that I was vulnerable because that was the choice I made. I never choose whether or not to write a great song. I'm trying every time,
yes.
you know? So I choose to be proud of the choices I make because that's really all I control. I'm not proud of outcomes. I'm proud of choices.
Would you mind sharing like the thing you learned in therapy about the 3 words?
No. So in therapy, this was a couple years ago when I was really going through it. And again, trying to figure out like identity things and like, who am I? Because I'm really good at chameleoning into spaces, but don't really know like who I am at this point. And I was like, so talking to my therapist about that, and she was like, well, I think we came up with like maybe 5 or 6 at first, but then we kind of distilled it down to 3 words that basically encapsulate who I am as a person. And then I like made them my phone background for 2 years, probably. Like I just changed it like 6 months ago. And so she said basically, what are 3 words that everyone who really knows you would unanimously agree, that feel like they capture every angle of you? Of course, you're not going to capture every detail in 3 words, but like, so don't have two words that are too overlapping, basically. And for me, it was kind, driven, and connecting. So all adjectives. And the point is, that's something that when I walk in, or we say I walk out of a write where I bombed. Like I brought 3 ideas and they were like, oh no, those are awful. Or I say something in the session where I'm like, ooh, shouldn't have said that. That was dumb, which happens. It happened yesterday. And and like just some of those things where it's like, oh, that was bad. That didn't go well. What are things that I can walk out confident still, because I was like knowing that I was myself.
Yeah.
Like I didn't compromise who I was, that I did the best that I could, and I didn't compromise my integrity in that ride or on that day or whatever. And so if I can walk out of a room and say, oh, I was kind in every chance that I got, I led with kindness and I tried to be as kind as I could. And I was driven. I worked really hard. That is something that is just always true about me. I'm a passionate person. And from the passion is drive to just really try and raise the bar and elevate the quality of something that I'm going to be a part of. And I'm a connecting person. Like it's really important to me to have genuine connection with people and not just come in and fake it, and like even like talking about being vulnerable in a session. Like that's part of the connecting thing.
Sure.
So that's another reason I was proud of myself for that, is because I was like, oh, I was being myself. Like I was making a decision to be myself in a way that was difficult.
Yeah.
When it would have been easier to tuck the connecting piece in and just write something that you hope connects instead of connecting to it yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that has, saved me on occasion where I'm just like, where I could just absolutely drown in a pity party, just absolutely. But then I'd be like, okay, because in as many social interactions as we have in our job, there are gonna be times you like, oh, I'm gonna shove my foot in my mouth.
Absolutely.
Like there are gonna be times where you just say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And it's just part of the job, and it's just part of being a human.
Yeah.
You just say dumb stuff sometimes, like your mouth goes faster than your brain does, and you're like, oh, that was dumb. Or it comes out really awkward.
Yes.
Like, yeah, it happens. It happens to me pretty regularly these days. So when those things happen, I can just be like, okay, I was doing my best. I was kind. It was not an unkind thing that I said. And sometimes there are unkind things that I say, and then I have to evaluate. But it was not an unkind thing that I said. It was driven. I was doing everything that I can with what I know to try and raise the bar and improve the product. And I was connecting through what I was saying.
Yeah.
Or at least I was trying to. And so if I'm trying to do those things, I'm not going to throw stones at myself. If it was done in an attempt to be kind, driven, and connecting, because that's me being me.
Whew. Man, that's good. Let me answer the question.
Yes.
Last time I was proud of myself, definitely this past week. And unlike you, I'm not often proud of myself. But when I came up with this question, it forced me to think of it more, which I'm happy for that.
That is great.
So this morning I went on a walk, and before we started recording, we were talking about how insanely hot it is.
So hot.
But just the fact that, once again, going back to the willpower thing, I very rarely ever, when I did try a diet thing, did a diet and an exercise thing at the same time. Like they just never connected for me. But like I got out and did a walk because like I just felt like, man, I just want to start the day right.
Yeah.
Because like when we had this, we'd be sitting down almost all day.
That's
like
true.
I wanted to be focused for all this. And boy, the walk kicked my ass, bro. I mean, the sun was blazing.
Yep.
But like I went out, did an hour. It's about 3 miles. It's like a normal pace for me. And just like, I freaking did this.
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself. And having a partner like doing the diet thing at the same time, like I don't want to let him down. So me being proud of myself for like us doing it together.
Yeah.
It's been really nice. It's been really a healthy way of looking at all this instead of times I've tried it in the past of like, oh, I've got to do it because like
body shame.
Yes. Now it just feels like, yeah, I'm making a change and I'm seeing if it works. If not, it's fine. I have a friend doing it with me. Like it just feels good and healthy right now.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. You should be proud of yourself.
Thank you. And on that note, we're going to take another quick break. We'll be back. Welcome back. We are into the final section, maybe, probably,
Potentially.
of the questions, the last 4. It's been a good long episode so far, with really good answers. So let's keep it going.
Really good questions.
Thank you. Question number 7. What was the last piece of art you consumed that inspired you?
I'll definitely say this is an album, the SOS.
Yes.
It's great, but it's great at a thing that is like, it has like pop sensibility, but it feels super stream of consciousness. Like it's like R&B Noah Khan almost, which makes no sense. I know, I realize that, but it's like, it's definitely crafted, but it comes across as stream of consciousness. And so, but you can tell it's crafted because like the rhymes are so tight and like the melodies and like so all the nerd stuff, but like, oh, it's so good. Like to the point where I'm like, I'm working with a friend on a sync project and I'm like, how do we like draw from this a little bit? And we're doing like cinematic, like like, but I'm like, how do we, can I, cause there's no way I'm making something like that in Christian music. So I'm like, how can we make something like inspired by that because the sound is so good. It's like emotional, but like it has things I like about jazz
Sure.
in it, like Gone Girl on there is my current favorite. I've cycled through so many songs like Snooze and Kill Bill, of course, but and Blind. But like yeah, it like has so many different things that I just admire about music. Because we've talked about like what I listen to. I usually listen to anything that I wouldn't write.
Sure.
Like that's what I want to listen to at home. I do not want to listen to something that I will try and emulate later. Not because I'm afraid of emulating it, but because it's going to make me feel like I'm working all the time at home.
Yes.
I need it to feel irrelevant.
That's good.
Like I need it to feel, and so that's how, in the best way, that's what the SOS album feels like to me. It feels irrelevant to what I do. But I'm still inspired to try and create something from it, which is a cool, weird balance. Because like I don't listen to it and go like, "Ooh, I love how she," even though I could, but I don't. I just am a fan. I just love it. It's so inspiring. I think the Noah Kahn record is a little bit that way, but even though I would write that, but I still just enjoy it. But my other go-tos, Golden Hour, Casey Musgraves.
Wow,
which I would write. I would love to write that. But that album, I still beat to death here. And Continuum, John Mayer. Continuum and Golden Hour are the two where it's like, okay, if we're like painting, like I just painted the nursery, like or if I'm cooking, I'm going to turn on Golden Hour or Continuum.
Yeah.
And then if that one finishes, I'm going to turn on the other one. And then after that, then I'll be like, okay, what else can I listen to?
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, those are my two records for sure. Like those are two of my like desert island records or whatever.
What's your third? Because I went through this on a different episode. We talked about desert island. Mine were Madion's Adventure Deluxe.
Of course.
Let's see if I remember. Good Lord. Michael Jackson's Thriller and gospel person Deidre Haddon, his record 7 Days.
See, I don't know that I would do both. If we're talking literal desert island thing, I don't know that I would do Continuum and Golden Hour because they serve the same purpose, like the relax kind of thing. But I'm not choosing one over the other. I'm not.
Okay.
But so one of those.
Yes.
That would be my chill relaxing is one of those albums. Maybe it feels like cheating to do like a long album just so it's long.
Not at all.
But I'm trying to think what else I even listen to, honestly. Like, I really just don't listen to that much.
Was there anything that spoke to you growing up that still sticks with you? Good job. Let's get that clean. Yeah. Was there anything that spoke to you growing up that you might pick for the desert island?
Anything that spoke to me growing up? That's a good question.
Because that's what the 7 Days record would be for me. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
I would maybe do like the Be Lifted High Bethel record. That album is very good. That would be maybe like my worship one. Because I would want some church music.
Yeah, that's why I had some gospel in there. Like,
yeah,
I might need to praise God.
Yeah, I might need a moment.
I'm stuck out there.
I might hit a valley,
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So I'll go with that. Honestly, there might be an Elevation record, but I'm gonna go with Be Lifted High for now.
Okay.
And then let's see. So and those are both kind of like chill. So I would want something with more energy. Okay. I might say the Noah Kahn deluxe edition because it's long.
Wow.
It's acoustic. So if that was the case, then I would go with Continuum to get off of the acoustic vibes. So I would do Continuum, Noah Kahn's Stick Season, We'll All Be Here Forever, I think. We'll Be Here Forever, maybe. And Be Lifted High is my official for now answer.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
What was the question?
Last
piece of work you can say. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
My answer for that would, to talk about Madion again, it's story time. Last year, 2023,
Yeah.
This was supposed to be the best week of my life.
Yeah.
I was seeing 3 artists that I love dearly. It was going to be the band Camino, the 1975, which were back to back here in Nashville, and then I was going to go see Madeon, my favorite producer, in Red Rocks.
At Red Rocks.
At freaking Red Rocks, which I've never been there. This is going to be my first experience.
A show of a lifetime.
This was what, November maybe?
October, I think.
October.
Because I was flirting with the idea of going.
Right. Yeah. Yes. The first 2 shows were amazing. Absolutely excellent. 75 puts on one of the best, like, choreographed and executed shows, I think, in music right now. But it was all going to be nothing compared to Madeon. Madeon's one of my favorite artists and has been for the past decade. And I'm seeing him at a phenomenal venue.
Iconic venue.
Yes.
Once in a lifetime.
So the week goes by. I'm still juiced off the first 2 concerts. Like, yes, but like, we're going to complete the trifecta. I was off work and everything, bro. I was like, this whole week is dedicated to me and this run of shows. We get to Saturday. The show's on a Sunday. Mm-hmm. We get to Saturday, and I'm checking Twitter, and there was supposed to be a show the night before Madeon that got canceled. And they weren't saying why. I assumed it was just like snow and ice, but then I was like, it's Denver. Like,
they'll clear it.
Yeah, they'll clear it. And like, on the website, it says like, no matter what the conditions, we do shows. So I'm like, okay. And Madeon went on Twitter. Red Rock's Twitter came out and said, Madeon show is still happening. Don't worry about it. So I'm like, okay, I've seen all I need to see. The people who would know what they're talking about have said, don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. So I get on the plane. I'm literally going to Denver Sunday, the day off. I'm flying in on Sunday and I'm leaving like early Monday morning. I'm going to Denver for just this. So I fly in, I'm there early around lunchtime. I'm a big Eagles fan, so I find a local Eagles bar. I post up, we're watching the game, we're beating somebody. I think it was the Giants, I don't know. It was a grand old time.
Yeah.
While I'm there, I'm continually refreshing Twitter and I see the concert has been canceled. And I'm just in Denver for no reason. And I was so sorely upset. I was just like,
yeah.
All the money, all the time, all the energy just wasted. And like, I didn't take the time to go like check out Denver or anything. I was so upset. So I just found a hotel, stayed there, came back the next day. Very upset.
Terrible. What was it canceled for?
They didn't say. It was assumed to be snow and ice, but like I was driving the whole next day, didn't run into any issues at all.
That's so weird.
So weird.
Are they rescheduling it?
They did.
Oh.
So the time I was going, that was the first rescheduled time. So they had to reschedule again for maybe like, I think it was a week later. And of course, like so many people can't just drop everything and pay all the money to come back, or if they're even in town, maybe they're busy. It was an unfortunate situation. Like no love lost to Madeon or even Red Rocks. Like things happen, whatever.
Love lost.
But they make it out the next week, and Madeon, he does a live stream of the show just to be like, hey, anyone who couldn't make it the first 2 times, you can still kind of enjoy it with us. So he does that. I check it out. It's awesome. Someone on the Madeon Reddit took the live stream audio and like they uploaded it somewhere. So like I have it downloaded on my phone in my Apple Music account, and like God bless whoever did this. I need to find out. They did it track by track, which is amazing. But also at the end, they had just like the full hour and a half version of the set. All that to say, the thing that has inspired me most recently is track 5, which is Love You Back. And for those of you who aren't aware, usually DJ sets, the performer will mix the song in a different way. So like this happened to be a Madeon song. So like the first half is the song that you know and love, you can sing along to and dance to, whatever. But on the back half, he's changing it up in some way. He's adding in different like vocal chops or different like instrumental stuff here and there. So this version of Love You Back is the thing that has inspired me. Every time I listen to it, I have to listen to it 5 times. And this isn't like an OCD thing either. It's just like, this is so creative. I need to hear it again right now. Because like the first half is normal, but then the back half, he's interpolating his other song called Cut the Kid and like using the vocal chops from that and like flipping it and oh God, and the bass is so disgusting and nasty. Like it'll change your face like immediately without even recognizing, oh, what the heck was that? That was amazing. It is so good and well done. But also just the idea of he made both of these songs, but he's also so creative that he has flipped them in different ways and given them new life. How was he thinking about all this? Like, how did he do this? And hearing stuff, seeing stuff like that inspires me to be creative. I'm like, how can I do something different with something that already exists that I've created? Like, I don't know, but like, I want to figure it out. That drives me to figure it out. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that is the answer.
That's really cool.
Also,
now I need to hear it.
Yeah, I got to play it for you. I'm going to see Zed at Red Rocks, and it'll be my first Red Rock show in October of this year. Let me knock on wood. If it gets canceled, I'm going to end my life, and this show might not even come out. Don't say that. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
No, it does sound very similar.
It sure does.
Eerily so.
But no, hopefully it's great.
It will be.
Let's move on to question 8.
All right.
Who do you know personally that inspires you to be better?
Dude, so many people. Like, so many people. And in a lot of different ways. Like, I'm a big believer in the, what's the expression? It's like the idea of like, any man is your teacher. Or maybe it's any man is a teacher, but some version of that.
Sure.
And it's basically like the point being you can learn something from anyone. So like anyone is going to be better than you at something. And so I'm a big believer in that. But specifically, so it inspires me to be better.
Yes.
I would say my wife, of course. I mean, she is a better person than me in general. She's just a better person. But she definitely, she just makes me, like this morning, she literally like took breakfast to a place, I won't say where, but a place in Mount Juliet for like underprivileged girls who are like having difficulties at home and stuff like she just signed up and wanted to do it. So she inspires me to be better. I cooked the sausage for her to take and like do this morning. So like she's just always doing something like that. I'm like, you are too nice. You're like too good of a person. Like it's not real. So I have to up my game.
Yeah.
But so definitely her and just like being a better person. I would say my friend Jeff Soika right now in like writing. It's like everybody inspires me in different ways in writing, but like in his like pursuit of like just raising the bar and like not settling, like just keep going and keep pushing and keep pushing. I've learned a lot from him that way. Colby Wedgeworth, he doesn't, if I do too many, I'm going to name everybody, but
yeah.
But no, I'll just name a few and there will be more that I don't name. But Colby, from the first time I wrote with him, he's just always really, really picky about the idea. Like it's got to be a high ceiling thought. So I stole that from him and I do that now.
Nice.
Many things that I do, I have stolen from others.
The best artists steal. Is that the phrase?
Yes. There's a book on my reading list called Steal Like an Artist.
Oh, well, there you go.
But let's see. Them inspires me to be better. I would say you and your patience and your level-headedness. I will say the are you saying you're not patient?
No, I'm not saying anything.
You were just laughing, but no, because in the sense of like because I'm so passionate and outwardly so, I can get not it's not just impatient, but you have a level-headedness about you at all times. Whereas I find myself, it can turn from passion to like flying off the rails a little bit sometimes.
Sure.
Not in like unhealthy, super negative ways, but in ways where I'm like, okay, I could do better to rein it in sometimes and have a little bit more calculated approach to some things, and emotionally, especially in our work and everything like that. So,
Sure.
so I'm inspired by your ability to be both passionate and calm. And whereas I'm mostly just passionate, and then later I'm calm.
Sure.
So
thank you for that.
Yeah, those are a few.
I've tried not to do this for shows, but like, this is my show. Screw it. The answer's got to be you. Because of so many things you've touched on already, just naturally sharing. Like, I admire how driven you are, but also like how much you care about something that seemingly no one else cares about in our industry. Just like the dedication to the craft of songwriting and the excellence behind that is important to you. So important. Like, some of the people like who are good at what they do almost pales in comparison to how important you make it seem.
Thank you.
And that's a workish thing. For just doing life and friendship, you're so solid. Yeah, how do I say this? There are some times I think, like, what would Jonathan think of this?
That's high praise.
I think so. And usually it's like, am I doing this well enough? Whether it's a work thing or just a life thing. It's like, how would he feel about this? Would this make him proud? And I wish I asked myself that more.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
About me. But I think you're a very good measuring stick of excellence.
Oh, thank you.
For sure.
That's very kind.
And it's great to have that sort of guide in my life.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
High praise. Thank you.
I think we're going to move on to question 9.
Let's do it.
Do you still believe in love? And if so, why?
Yeah, I got it.
You gotta.
No, I got it.
Oh, got it.
No, yeah, because I absolutely do. I also am like already, without my daughter even being here, I'm already like feeling like a different kind of love. So not only do I believe in it, I believe in like different kinds of it too.
Yeah.
Like there's, well, and there's a lot of different kinds too. Like, even not to get all like faithy, but even in like scripture, there are like 12 or 13 different words that all get translated to the English word love from the Hebrew language, or maybe it's Greek. I think it's Hebrew though. But because like the way that I love God is not the way that I love Sierra. The way that I love Sierra is not the way that I will love my daughter. The way that I love my daughter is not the way that I love fried chicken, or Nashville hot chicken, or Thai or Indian. As I just derail into food. But so I think all of those are love, but they're different. So yeah, I believe in love, and I believe in a lot of different kinds. And I think it's like, it is complicated too, in like I don't want to say like, oh, you just know when you know, because it's not really that. I also very much believe love is a choice. Like, love is a choice. It's also a feeling. I don't think you can boil it down to either one, but I think it's a choice that, and it's not always the right choice either. It's not you always should. It's sometimes it doesn't outweigh the things,
I do know.
So, but it is a choice that you can make.
Yeah.
But just because you can doesn't mean you always should. Because sometimes, love is blind. It's not to reference the show, just the saying. But, so, I don't know. Just saying all of that is just a really convoluted way of saying, yes, I do. And I believe it's very complicated.
That's a great answer. I would say for this episode, yeah, I do. And it feels right to say yes for the last episode, but it's an honest answer.
Have you said no?
Not quite yet.
Oh, okay.
I've
I thought
been
you were saying
very
no before.
close.
Funny.
But for this one, yeah. I think I'm starting to see and feel love in different places, like more love for myself, more love for my friends, more love for the art of something, for the craft of this. Like I love this. You're right. It's just, it shows up in different ways. It's different and it's messy and weird, and there's no one thing to boil it down to. But I think, yeah.
It's more of a category than an emotion, you know? Like it's so many things. Even just what you're talking about, I was like, those make me feel such different things. Like if it's like, I love an album, like when this album comes on, oh man, I love that chorus. I love that melody. Versus like someone walks in with Menti Malai from Taj, and I'm like, oh, I love this. or like a glass of wine. Or I'm like, oh, I love this. Or someone that I miss. Like I get to go home and see my mom or my dad or something. And I'm like, oh, I love them. Like those are all different feelings that are siblings. Yeah. But yeah, it's not all one thing, I don't think. But also, who am I?
Yeah, I don't know.
Who am I to say?
We've made it to the final question.
Okay.
Question number 10. And my answer is why I was laughing before. What do you want to be remembered for? And I'll go first.
Okay, you go first.
I want it to be remembered for a person who was filled with grace and patience. So it makes me feel good that I'm already on my way.
Yep. I also, I hope you feel very seen.
I do.
And also, I feel great.
No, yes,
that I accurately called that out.
Yeah. I've found that I'm very, very patient with people and not patient with things. Like technology immediately pisses me off.
Totally.
When it doesn't work.
Yeah. Because it should.
Exactly. But with people, it's like, yeah, we're all just messing up. And I'm growing in patience and grace for myself. And that's been huge for me. Yes. So, I mean, good Lord, I've got patience already, at least according to you.
Yeah.
How can I be more graceful in my life? I'm trying to figure that out right now.
Gracious or graceful?
I think graceful.
Yeah, that's tough. Either one is tough.
Of course.
Like, yeah. I mean, I think the calmness is in the right direction. Like, yeah, I mean, getting rid of hurry too. Nothing graceful is that fast. You know?
Sure.
But it also has momentum, you know?
Yeah.
But so it's moving, but it's not in a hurry, I don't think.
That'll preach. I like that.
A lot of sound bites.
Yeah. I mean, that's my answer. What do you want to be remembered for?
What do I want to be remembered for?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I feel like this changes on the daily for me. Because I think about it a lot. Because not that I'm going to be remembered by that many people. I am well aware and enjoy that my songs will be remembered by a lot of people, but I will not be. I'll be remembered by the people I interact with one-on-one. I'm not like an artist on stage who'll be remembered by people they don't know. So I think, gosh, what do I want to be remembered for? I think right now, I would say I just want to be remembered for like being kind. I'll say for being kind, driven, and connecting. The 3 words that I landed on in therapy of being myself and like who I am. And I think I think my goal is to be remembered accurately.
Ooh.
And no delusion of grandeur about it. No diminished, like soured perspective, no rose-colored glasses. Just like to be remembered accurately with the flaws that I have, but also with the heart that I have. And like trying to do best by people when I can and trying to grow, trying to improve myself constantly, but trying to connect to people from all different backgrounds and walks of life. I try to be a very inclusive person. Like those things. And I think that all does boil down to being kind, driven, and connecting.
Yeah. Man. Great answer.
Thank you. I was processing it externally the whole time, and I feel like that's my actual answer.
Yeah. I think you did a great job. And this has been great. We're going to take another quick break, have an outro, get everything clean, close out, but we're about done. See you in a second. The last clap of the show. Welcome back, Jonathan. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Of course.
You're like basically contractually obligated.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't not do it at this point.
But still, I'm appreciative. My oldest and best friend. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Dude, thank you. Seriously. You always, even off camera, have the best questions and are the best conversationalist using the fewest words.
I'll take that. It's probably true. But no, this has been great. Hopefully you enjoyed it and enjoyed the show overall. This is probably it. I am not planning to make any more episodes. So if that makes you upset, I'm sorry. But do it yourself. Hopefully this creatively inspires you to do your own thing. It doesn't have to be a grand video podcast like this. It could be whatever inspires you.
It could be a horrible podcast.
Exactly. Like this.
As good as this one.
No, where can the people follow you?
Around the supermarket? No, I'm kidding. No,
that was not funny.
Okay, fair enough. I thought it was funny. Instagram, I guess, _ Jonathan Gamble _ but also don't. Like,
right.
It's LinkedIn for me. Like I just don't care.
Yeah.
Please don't follow me.
Yeah.
Lord, please don't DM me.
That's more than fair. Keep an eye out for things coming out in the Christian country pop realm in the future.
Sure.
Jonathan might be
Just
on one of those songs.
Look, if you like a song, look at the credits.
Whether he's on it or not. Learn who's
That's true.
Yeah,
that is true.
Learn who's writing your favorite songs.
That is true. But if you like a song, look at the credits. And if you see my name, think it was my idea. If there's a song you hate and you look at the credits and my name is on there, I did my best to talk them out of it.
You can follow me at Steflo55, STEFLO55, mainly on Instagram. And you can follow the show at A Moment Pod, basically everywhere. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to be posting after this, but I don't know. Maybe there'll be some surprises in there. And thank you for joining us for a moment. Bye.
Deuce. I cannot believe it has not fallen over yet.
Knock on wood.